Today is a special call meeting of the Commissioners Court of Hood County, Texas. Today is Monday, September the 16th, 2024, and it's 1 p.m. And we're in the Emergency Operations Center located at 501 Deputy Laird Miller Drive in Granbury, Texas. First of all, I'd like to call on Commissioner Andrews to give the invocation.
Please join me in prayer. Father, Lord, we thank you for this time that you've given us to come together. Father, we thank you for this beautiful day, this beautiful county, Father. We ask that you will be with us, to guide us, Father, to give us the wisdom and the knowledge that we need as we go about setting about the business of the county, Father. We ask that you bless all these things. Lord, we thank you for your mercy and your grace. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. You'll join me in the pledge of the United States of America.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now to the great state of Texas.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, the first item that we're going to discuss is discuss and take appropriate action regarding Hood County agreements with Pecan Plantation Voluntary Fire Department. Do we have, Sheriff, do we have any public participation?
Yeah. There is a whole bunch of them for the Pecan section. County clerk's working on those right now.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. All right.
Okay, well, while she's getting those, I'll just say, the reason this is on the agenda, and thank you all for coming. I know this is very near and dear to all of our hearts that live out in Pecan Plantation. We are blessed to have both an outstanding fire department and EMS, and for us to have that jewel just a few minutes away from our homes is we are really blessed. It recently came to my attention that the interlocal agreement and the ARPA grant fund agreement between Hood County and Pecan Volunteer Fire Department do not reflect the current actual legal entity name. So this is something that has been in place for many years. Wherever the fire marshal went, he's hiding back there. He did some research, and it's had that name on there for many, many years. So knowing what the intent of the court was when we signed that agreement, and also when we granted the funds out of the ARPA federal grant to the volunteer fire department, this was something that I had to bring back to the court because the fire marshal, the emergency management coordinator, myself alone cannot make a decision to change a contract that the court has signed. So that's why it's here. You all probably know that we can't speak among ourselves. We're barred from doing that by the Texas Open Meetings Act. So the only way for me to bring that information to the attention of the rest of the court was to hold a public meeting. So that's why we're here. So I wanted to make sure that the entire court understood what the situation is, so that if there's any changes that need to be made, it is made by the court. Because as I said, the fire marshal can't make the decision, the auditor can't make the decision, emergency management coordinator can't make the decision. It has to come back to the court if there's any changes that need to be made. So with that, we have somebody in our midst that is very, has well-versed in how the fire stations work within the county.
Okay, thank you.
Extensive background in the fire department, so I'd like to ask you if you have any comments.
Okay, well, primarily I think the intent of the Commissioners Court here with the funds that were the stipend, the annual stipend that goes to each of the fire departments, we specified that that is for fire suppression activities. Whether that be operational or, buy a new truck, perform maintenance on your vehicles, whatever it is to make the fire department go. We have set up an agreement with everybody where there's a separate account for those stipend funds that is checked over by the auditor, and those funds are only to be used for fire. Now, the pecan EMS, fire and EMS situation is a little bit different than any of the other fire departments in the county, in that they have EMS involved in that under the umbrella corporation there, or the 501c4 as it is, that both of those entities, well, there's only one legal entity, but both of those groups operate under that same umbrella. Now, that's unusual from all the other fire departments. There may be some differences in how some of those things are set up, but primarily the fire departments make the decisions for how those funds are spent, alone and in the best interest of fire suppression. So, with the two kind of being in one umbrella, it changes the parameters of the bill a little bit, and I think that we need to go in and set some things to make sure that we're all on the same page with how those funds are to be spent, what's to be allocated where, and that sort of thing. So, with that,
Anyone else want to speak or ready to?
Yeah, I've got a bunch of them here, so let's get started here. Mike Barrett, first speaker.
Yes, Judge, Commissioners, thank you. I am Mike Barrett. I am the chief for the Pecan Station 80 Fire Department. I represent 25 members of that volunteer fire department. I want to give you a little background just to update you on some things. This is how we operate, like Kevin said. We're different like every other station. All other 8 stations operate separately. They don't have an EMS tied to it. Our EMS service right here is a private paid service within Pecan. Everything in blue is paid. Everything in red is volunteer. I have one paid station manager under the fire department. We are under a board of 5, that's Pecan members. Along with myself, I'm voted in by the fire members. One paid EMS chief, if you can figure that out, why he's on the board, I have no idea. But he is on the board, so there's 7 members in total. Today, since December, we have gone through 2 fire chiefs with 40 years of service. We have now are on 3 boards since December. That tells you that there's some things going on. We will be on our 4th board by November. Board 1, Board 2, Board 3. I don't believe any of them have gone through the process of the election. The election process, it goes out, and the members get voted the guys that they want on this board. Board 2 and 3, I know, are self-appointed members. So that's a problem. Okay? So, how do we operate funding-wise? This is fire. EMS, let me start here, they get funding through a couple different buckets. PPOA, that's an association fee. They get money from insurance. They get money from auxiliary, and there's a large independent donor that provides funding for them. All right? So, I want to give you just some brief examples where these boards claim they want to be a good fiduciary steward, but there's some things that are in question. PPOA funds, very quickly. What happens there? That's the money that we should be getting from PPOA. It's a $20 assessment. I'm a PPOA member. Most members think it should be split 50-50. That fund isn't. That is determined by the Inc. board. Should it be? I don't know. That should be presented to the members. But there was an issue right here. Last year, there was a motion made that the funding would be split 50%, 25% to fire, 25% to EMS, the 50% went to the board. So starting, they made a motion, was in the minutes, starting in April through October, that's when our year ends, fire had accumulated $116,932. Now when we went to board 2, doing the budgets, we said, where's that money? Money's gone, Mike. 3 witnesses in a room, money's gone. No explanation where that money went. Auxiliary money. We have a great auxiliary. Some of the auxiliary ladies are here today. That money from board number 1 said we give the money out to whoever needs it. Well, that wasn't satisfactory to the auxiliary ladies. The presidents, they said, no, our intent when we collect it is a 50-50 split. So that should be happening today. quite frankly, it still goes into a generalized bucket. Equipment for trucks. We had sold 2 trucks. We had asked repeatedly, where is the money for those trucks? Because we're trying to acquire funding for new trucks ourselves. We don't have the luxury of a large builder to parachute money into us. We have to rely on several different factors to get trucks. Now, on the Hood County money, Chief Paxton, former chief, is going to dive a little bit more into the intricacies that he experienced on the shifting of the money from the Hood County funds. I can tell you in this instance, what happened in December, we had a cap that went on the truck, for our command truck. Chief Paxton, good steward, thought, okay, I'm going to put a board member on there as a signer. Well, what happened, there was some disparities between Chief Paxton about some of these other funds, where they were at, that it got to a point where, he couldn't take it anymore. The past president, what he did on board number 1, he wrote out a check, $26,000, without the approval of Chief Paxton or any other board member, just went out and purchased that pot. When he really should have taken it from PPOA funds or auxiliary or the sale of the truck. Why? Why did he do it? Where did that money go? Why did he do that? That was the concern. Or 2, I had an issue where they wanted to be the sole signatories of the Hood County funds on the intermodal agreement and on the ARPA agreement. That's not how they're stated. They're not on there. That is written to the fire and fire only. So, Nanette got involved. She participated in one of our meetings, and adamantly they said, no, we are the fiduciary of these funds. That's an issue. Now, for us, we just created our own corporation because of these 2 areas. We want to be the sole provider, care and custody of the Hood County funds, ARPA funds, the government grant funds. Right now, we are a 501c4. We should be a 501c3 so that we don't burden the community for things like bunker gear, extrication tools, things that we need that we can get grants through. Now, we did get a grant for the ARPA grant, which is in discussion right now, and we did have a meeting with the new Board 3. We discussed it with Jeff Young in the room and Margaret Campbell. And we said, why won't you not just give us a 99-year lease for $1? 3 times we were turned down on that. What I would recommend, as we discuss this ARPA grant, is EMS, right now, consider insurance paying on their trucks. No other EMS service do they pay insurance on their trucks. I would like to make a recommendation that allow us to have the 99-year lease for $1. You guys recommend that you can continue with the insurance for this EMS service, so we can move forward on this ARPA grant. Now, for us, as I said, we save money to get trucks and equipment. Right here, we got a grant, fire, for a brand new brush truck. Our brush trucks, the youngest one we have is 2006. That's long in the tooth for a brush truck out there. So, let's talk about our funding that we have today. This is off a sheet, basically from Board 2, Vice President Treasurer. We sat down and we started to say, where is all our funds? All right? So you can see we have accumulated roughly $746,000. Part of it is Hood County funds, $104,000, $142,000. That's what we're using towards the purchase of this brush truck. Brush truck is $296,000. The Texas Forestry gave us a grant for $240,000. So what would happen is, once we get that truck built, they see it in our station, they write us out for $240,000, and we take $56,000 out of the Hood County funds to pay for it. Now, we're in desperate need to replace a new rescue truck. We had gone after the board several times. Back then, during Paxton, we could have got a truck for $700,000. Right now, the replacement of that truck is $950,000. We're saving up for it. With this money right here, we like to use it going forward. Now, what was identified as another issue is we had some funding right here that was for fire. It was broken out at First National Bank and Prosperity Bank per J. Garrison their CPA or our CPA for our ink board. And when we questioned it, I said, why did the First National Bank in 2023 mutual fund get split into 3 CDs? No real explanation. They probably got better interest rates. But what had happened was they had cashed in one of the CDs to pay for EMS salary. Now, I told you EMS salary is almost $1 million, how they're operating. So they cashed it in when that fund really should have been restricted to fire. And what normally happens with this ink board is they will put it into a generalized fund, and then they'll pull from it and then pay things for fire or for EMS. The 2 trucks I just mentioned, the VP treasurer agreed anything in yellow, I agree, we've identified it, that is your funds that should be allocated to you back if you're operating in the red at the end of the year. Right now, EMS is a negative $116,000, I believe. I just looked at the profit and loss sheet on there. It isn't, Philip? Okay. Along with that is the EMS floor from the auxiliary. They went over, they pulled money from us. All of these areas, VP Treasurer said, yep, we agree, we're going to pay you back those funds. So, you know, when we had an issue with a truck, this is the beast, and that is an old Stuart Stevenson truck that we got from Texas Forestry. We use it as a brush truck. In brush truck season, wildfire season, this was inoperable. The tire's over 23 years old. I didn't want to send my crew out in a wildfire where the capability of these things, rotted tires would go out and they'd be stuck or stranded. And we have a situation like Crescent where they lost a truck. So we had approached the board. After the 4th of July, we'd like to fix this. This is kind of X amount that we wanted to pay for it. No response from the president until a message was sent on the 6th of July. No message until the 16th. That's unacceptable. We should have the capability to write a check out and fix this. We were told, use your credit card, Mike. Credit card only has $2,000 limit. We had an issue with the tanker that month that was like $1,800. The cost of the tire, $2,700, plus the install, $35. We didn't have enough to cover it. That's unacceptable. We should have control of our own funds, the Hood County funds, that we can write a check right out to. So if you look at some of these things, you know, I would ask is, are they good stewards? Do you feel comfortable that they would be good for operating as a fiduciary on Hood County funds? Now our guys, some of them are right here today, they're enthusiastic that we have made the move to become our own corporation. We have our EIN, we have a board, we have bylaws, we have a bank account, that we can accept that money coming into it. We've been doing training. We got 3 guys going through Ricky School right now. I have guys in this October meeting, which is put on by TCC, I have guys going through live fire training, ventilation, pump ops, swift water, strategic tactics, and fire support. 13 guys going through that. Because we have been moving forward to keep our ISO rating of a 3. We do that. We just tested 325 hydrants. We pump tested our trucks. We did our hoses. And now we got our guys getting trained and all that. So we are a reliable asset to the community. Our guys, right here, we have 15 years of service of officers, 15.3. We have guys that are 30 years of service on this ink board. They come and go like the sands of the Sahara. You just don't know who's going to be in place and what they want to do. So with that, I would ask you is, we would like to have the care and custody of these funds for fire on any Hood County funds and the ARPA funds. And I'll turn it over to probably the next one would be Chief Paxton. Am I set on that? Correct?
I got the agenda. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Any questions, folks?
No. Our next speaker is David Paxton.
That good?
Hi, my name's Dave Paxson. I'm the former fire chief. Was there 3 years at Con. Former firefighter there with them. I just wanted to quickly go over the actual county money and how it was used and what happened to it. We had a interlocal agreement, obviously, with the county and PPVFD. I was the one that signed it as the fire chief. So it was not done by the board. It was signed by the fire chief. With all the agreements that the money is to be used solely by the fire chief, by the fire department. When we started to get, they changed the way that the money was given out, and it was insisted by the county that we had a separate account for that money to go into. So we organised to have a separate account made. That account, I asked for myself to be the main signature on that account. And what I also asked for was one of the board members to be on there just to be a good fiduciary of the county's money, to make sure I didn't spend it unnecessarily. So we did that, and that worked out pretty good. We had a fairly straightforward, it went into the account, that was no problem. So then what came up with was some missing county money, where the actual money became missing. The board had a good idea, really, it was, that what they would do is place some of the money into CDs. Give a better interest rate than just sitting in the bank, and that was great. Obviously that wasn't one of the items that, was listed on the agreement, so I called the county auditor, talked to her about it, she agreed, yeah, that's okay, as long as I see a monthly statement of what's happening with that money in that CD. So that was all set up, that was done without problem. We went by a few months without any issues. The CD was listed on the financials every month, and then suddenly, one month, the CD of the $100,000 was missing off the financials. It was just gone. So I asked the board, I said, what happened to my $100,000 CD that I had for the fire department? And their answer was basically, Chief, you don't have $100,000. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't have $100,000? It's on the previous financials, you can see it. And now it's gone. And their answer again, it's gone. You don't have it, Dave. You don't have it. I asked them 3 times and they told me, no, you don't have the $100,000. So the next day, I went down to First National Bank, where the CD was, just to make sure the money was actually still there. And yes, it was still in the account. It wasn't an issue. Following month, that line item was placed back on to the financials, and it was back on there again. Just highlighting just the way the board worked and what they did, how they moved around the money, just to basically have it higher. If I had not caught it, and I hadn't seen it, who knows what would have happened to the $100,000. So, the other item was obviously what Chief Barr talked about was, I call it deliberate misuse of the county's money. I put in the 2023 budget for $80,000 to replace the command vehicle that we have. That was approved by the board. They all agreed, yeah, that's fine, and they agreed to that without a problem. Come the time when I found a vehicle to replace it with, the board said, no, that's not going to happen. You can't have it. Okay? So we talked, and we came up that we'd refurb Squad 81 and make that into the command vehicle by putting shell on. Obviously, good idea. Saved us quite a bit of money, nothing wrong with that. The cost was going to be $26,000. Well, that went on, and we actually got the completion of the vehicle, and we went to get the vehicle, or we didn't go to get it. The guy called and said it's ready to be picked up. And I asked for the check to be cut to pay for the vehicle, and they basically said, no, it's got to come out of the Hood County money. And I told them, no, it's not come out of the Hood County money, because we had money set aside for that. Part of it was the sale of 8 trucks that we had, 183, the other one was a brush truck, $67,000 that we had available to do that. We also had another account which was $340,000. That was a capital expenditure account made solely for the use of replacement of fire equipment. It was supposed to come out of that account. Well, the next thing that happened was the board member decided that he was going to write the check, he was going to sign the check, and he took the check down to get the new squad vehicle, which was done behind my back, without my authorization, and without my signature. Because I was supposed to be the signature on all of them accounts. So, again, another, just another way that they handled the money and work behind the fire department's back and use the county's money to their own needs. But my concerns is, you know, the PPDFD, we're all volunteers. And our only concern is for the members and the welfare and the safety of the members of Pecan and our county. How the financial split, making each department responsible for their own use of the money for their own business. You know, when I first started there, I said, you know, I need to see the financial split so I can see how much money I have, so that I can see how I can make a budget, how much money I have coming in, and what I can have going out. And they told me it's not run the business, it just goes into a big bucket and it comes out. Well, you know, past history shows from the boards that the way they do their business is not really working. It's not good for the people of Pecan because it's their money that's getting shuffled around and not used in the right way. Some of the things, I don't know whether you're seeing on Chief Barrett's financials there, that, you know, they would have EMS salaries of, you know, averaging around about $80,000 a month, $75,000 a month, every month. But the thing is, we only got $66,000 a month from Pecan. So their salaries alone were way higher than what we had coming in from income. I mean, you can't really run a business under that circumstances. If it was outside in the normal industry, that just wouldn't happen. The other concern is that, you know, this talk from the board right now is that they're just going to get rid of the firefighters and just let EMS take over and be the firefighters. Well, you know, one, they don't have the personnel to do that. There's a couple of firefighters on there, and that's fine. But they're not qualified, and they are not enough of them. That only becomes detrimental to the people of Pecan and the members of Hood County, because they would have to respond in Hood County also. The other thing is that we have an ISO rating of 3. That is extremely, extremely good. You know, Chief Rapper was part of that when that was all set up. You know, mainly the big cities are just 1. Maybe I think Granbury is at 2 now. Is that? So it's very, very hard to get that rating. If we lose that rating and go a high, you know, who knows what might go to? Could be a 5, a 7, a 8. My research showed that if that happens, for every point that we go up in the ISO rating, it's an extra 8.5% added on to our homeowners insurance. So if we go up 3 points, that's $1,000 extra I've got to pay a year. And that's not something that can be looked at lightly. You know, we have to be able to split our money and run as 2 separate businesses and be accountable for the money that we spend. And obviously it appears that, you know, the board's, you know, priority is in line more with it.
Do you have the timer that we could read up here?
I don't run one on my phone.
Yeah, I've only got one part.
Keep record, we don't have to do that. Kind of let them talk out what they need to.
So, you
There,
know,
everybody got a bunch of people on us.
it means that, you know, the board's priorities is not to align with the best interest of the members, rather than focus or simply serving on and securing funds to prop up EMS. That's really all I'm going to say in the sense of any questions.
Okay, the next speaker, thank you very much, is Dave Russell.
My name is Dave Raffa. I was fire chief at the Plantation from 1994 through 2016 when I retired. Basically, when I became fire chief there, we had 2 junk trucks and a junk fire station. And at the time, the EMS had 1 ambulance, and basically it was an EMS load and go. They had that stationed up at the tennis courts, and basically we had 2 volunteer organizations. In about 1996, the PPOA decided that they didn't want liability exposure for both fire and EMS because we were kind of under the PPOA board, executive board. So basically, they outsourced us. The other thing they were doing for the fire and EMS is they were running dispatch for us. So basically, the rest of the county had their dispatch system, and Pecan had their own dispatch system for both fire and EMS. So we had 2 volunteer organizations that they basically said, here, this is yours, and we're going to have a separate board, and you're going to have 2 volunteer organizations under one. Well, in 1997, I recognized when I became chief, we had 2 junk trucks and a junk fire station. We had to do something. So I went to Jim Anthony in 1997, asked him to donate the lots where the fire and EMS buildings are now, donate those lots to us because we needed to be centrally located, and my mission was to build up the fire department and get to an ISO of 3 rating. I knew we were at 10 when I became chief. So it took us about a year to get Jim Anthony to donate that property. The other thing was the property had to be unplatted because I had lots donated, but we were not, the PPOA told us those are residential lots. So I had a number of obstacles at that time. So then we built the fire station, went to auxiliary, we came up with $60,000, we built the building, and I had a fire station, still had 2 junk trucks. And we had a board that didn't have very much money that was turned over to us. So we got donations. I did everything I could to get donations. Also, I joined, Pecan became actually part of the whole Hood County at that point, as far as the Hood County Firefighter Association is concerned, and the Hood County Fire Chiefs. So all 9 volunteer fire departments. Roger Deeds was the Firefighter Association president, and his goal was to get all 9 fire departments going in the same direction, get funding for all these departments, and start building up the community. Well, as the EMS evolved, the EMS started putting on, the Pecan EMS started putting on paid paramedics because we had to go over to 911 as a licensed provider on the EMS side. So they had to have paid paramedics. They had to guarantee response time and pay EMTs. So the EMS side, the fire department's all volunteer. The EMS side is evolving into kind of a money hog per se because they had the salary expense. So we had 2 organizations that were completely different. One was paid, everybody was getting paid on the EMS side. On the volunteer side, we're all volunteer. So as the money was coming in, the donations, we had 1/3 of the people in Pecan donating. I went to the board and I said, look, this was in 2007. we are swimming in red ink. We need to do something to satisfy the EMS side and to get some money on the fire side. So I said, we need to write a bylaws amendment for the PPOA to provide funding for all of Pecan on a mandatory monthly donation. I'm sorry I'm out of time, but I want to give everybody enough education on what the picture is here. So essentially, I wrote a bylaws amendment on my own, not as a member of the board, because the board didn't want to write a bylaws amendment. They wanted to leave things as it was, even though we were basically going out of business. I wrote a bylaws amendment to put it on the ballot so that we would get funding from Pecan. Shortly after that, they had a special call meeting. The vote hadn't been taken yet. They had a specially called meeting, and the board fired Dave Bradfield for writing a bylaws amendment for funding. And I said, this is for fire and EMS. They said, no, we didn't want you to do that. I come to find out later that the PPOA board wanted to go in for a rate increase on their monthly dues, and they didn't want to compete with the fire and EMS. That was the reason. So Dave Bradfield got fired that day. So I said, no, I'm not fired. All of these guys elect me. I'm a volunteer. I get paid no money. We are going to move this thing forward. We're going to get funding, and we're going to get it passed with Pecan, and we're going to fix the problem on the EMS side for salary expense. We did. It passed by 78%. Dave Bradfield, in their mind, was still fired, even though we got it passed. So we had a town hall meeting. Sheriff Deeds came to the town hall meeting, and all the firefighters said, if Dave Bradfield's fired, we're done. We're not going to do this anymore. There's our bunker gear. You guys take over. They had a specially called meeting to reinstate me, and then we were back on track again. So I wanted everybody to get some history of where we were and how we got to where we are. So now you figure, okay, we got this money coming in from the all mandatory money coming in. I was elected.
Hey, you're going to have to wrap it up. I'm going to give you one more minute.
One more
to wrap
minute.
it up.
Okay. During my tenure, for 20 years on the fire and EMS board, I was one vote. All the rest were concerned about the EMS. I never had enough money to buy trucks. I bought 2 new trucks over the course of 20 years. 2 new trucks. And the moral of the story was I never had access to the fire department money that was coming in from all the things that I created. So in my opinion, over the years, nothing's changed here. The money comes in, it goes in the general fund, it's reallocated to salary expense. The chief told you, $1 million in salary expense a year for the EMS. We're volunteer. So that's where we have gone, and this is where we're at. And what I'm asking the Commissioner's Court now is recognize we're one of 9 volunteer fire departments in this county, and in order to survive, we have to be fiduciaries for the money so that we can spend the money when we need it and be accountable to the fire marshal's office and be accountable to the county. We cannot let these people that come in and out of these boards decide who should get the money and who should not get the money. And I apologize for running over.
That's all right. Thank you very much. Next is Philip Mayhew.
Close, Your Honor. Thank you, Jim. All right, my name is Philip. I am the president of the board of Con VFD and EMS Inc. We have been quite busy lately. First off, I do want to just thank all of our EMS and firefighters in our community. They do an amazing job. First and foremost, let's just start with this. We have a PPOA agreement with the Property Owners Association for that $20 assessment per lot per month. That right there is executed between our incorporated and PPOA. They have absolutely no desire, and there are members of their board in here today. They made it clear they have no desire to have a second service agreement outside of what we've got right now. Second is, the fire LLC that they have formed does not own here. It does not own the buildings nor the land. So when the ARPA money came, Chief Barrett was very clear that, hey, we're starting to build. Here we go. July 2nd, groundbreaking day. July 2nd came and went. I just finally asked him recently, I said, did you stop the construction on your own? Because that was a board action, not a unilateral action. But he took a unilateral action by stopping it, and then 10 days later filed for the LLC. So we got a lot of confusion for us. We're volunteers, just like you guys are too. Chief Barrett asked us, please give us an audit. We're doing that. We just finished all of these submissions for everything for the audit, including Chief's presentation, as well as interviews between fire personnel and EMS personnel and some board personnel. Now, here we are. We asked him, would you give us 90 days, hold off on the LLC? He agreed. Ms. Henley was in that meeting. It was a closed workshop. They said, okay. The next day, it was off the table. Then recently, we met with the fire marshal. I offered, with the board's support, let's do this. Let's take 1 year. Let's shelve your LLC for the moment. Allow us to put in the controls that are necessary to make this thing right. We have the best interest of both EMS and fire. We have a very highly qualified board, probably I'm the least of them, but here we are, and we keep offering, and the goalpost keeps moving. I am very disappointed in our commissioner in our area. I'm sorry, Mrs. Samuelson, but I understand you've been in meeting after meeting with fire officials, and yet when I make a phone call to you, I get a call back from the fire marshal. And I'm a constituent, and that is upsetting to me. Now, some of the points that I just want to touch on real fast. The audit, they asked for the audit. The audit's engaged. We're waiting on it right now. Operations funds has been used more for the things that are in the county agreement. The county agreement says on this subsidy, these funds are intended to be used for operational maintenance and fuel budget. In the back of it, it goes on to say, here it is. A separate bank account be required for annual subsidy payment. The subsidy is for the sole purpose of equipment, repairs, and expenses. Chief Barrett, in his presentation, showed you how they're using subsidy money to hoard away for a new truck while they're using PPOA operational money for these particular items. So, I mean, you don't have to believe me, but the audit's going to show everything. I don't heckle other speakers. Please don't heckle me, Ms. Lee. ARPA fund. I already went through that. The unilateral agreement. The lease, 99 years. We're not doing it. It would take a vote of the entire membership to do that. We would be looking at March before that even happens. But no. The deadlines keep moving on us. I can't keep up. I call it Chief Barrett's fictional crisis every morning. Yeah, I'm a little tired of it. So they've been able to save money by using the PPOA money while claiming that we're stealing, or someone's stealing, or not using it. Let the audit come out, guys. Come on. There's then the signatory. Can I have just a couple more minutes, Judge? Thank you. The search and rescue of an 81-year-old man. I know y'all aren't toned out. We have the resources of boats You have the ability to bring in Air 80 of a helicopter for a search and rescue for 81-year-old man who perished by our river. I got my behind chewed out by the GM and members of the PPOA board, along with Mr. Guffey, because they want to know, you the board, what is going on over there? I know they weren't toned out. They did go there the first day. They walked around. We never deploy a boat, an ATV. I have a problem with that. I appreciate what y'all do. That ISO rating, that's a big question mark right now. The structure fire on Beretta, that's a problem. They busted the windows, they brought the oxygen in and burned the house, and the house burned down. I'm just...
Don't make accusations.
You had your opportunity. So what I'm hearing here today is, we don't want accountability. Signatories, you're darn right. As long as fire is under this ink, there is not going to be fire solely in control of their funds, because our D&O insurance does not allow for that. Chief Barrett has asked that Chief Barrett be on the account. We agree. But he doesn't want any board members. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. We can't put y'all on, otherwise we are compromised with our D&O insurance. We have asked for time. Allow us to finish the audit. Put the controls in necessary. And to have this thing running as good as it should. So, I'm sorry guys, there's an audit probably coming on that ISO rating. And y'all can boast about it. And I hope it stays at 3. Because I don't want that 8% per number that goes up. And neither do you, but I tell you what, the Pecan Plantation residents are not going to be happy.
Okay, I think you have your extra 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay.
And also, as we were talking about budgets last week, sorry.
Your time is up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Done.
Okay.
All right, the next speaker is Gary Marks.
No, I'm not.
You pass? Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
His next speaker is Gary Geffen.
No, I'm not speaking.
You're not speaking. Okay.
That's good.
All right. Then Janie Norducci.
Got a couple of things.
All right.
Oh, you need your book back.
No, I
Oh,
don't.
Norducci's niece.
Yeah, I know, you have to watch those senior shoes, right? I'm Jane Narducci. I'm the current treasurer for the board. And as you know, this current board has been on duty 4 or 5 weeks. So we're a little bit new to the organization, trying to get our arms around this. The one thing that I did want to tell you, because I think this is very important, we have reviewed, one of the first things we heard was that the subsidy money is definitely a restricted fund. So as a board, I want to make sure that we were applying those funds correctly. I have reviewed from 2021 through current, and there are no invoices that have been paid out of any of the restricted funds that do not qualify for that subsidy. So I don't see where there's any restricted funds being spent for anything other than what they have been restricted for. There is sometimes confusion over reserve funds, and I think that's a lot maybe what Chief Barrett was referring to. In the accounting world, a board can reserve funds for a particular long-term event. So like we say, hey, we got a fire truck we're going to need in a few years, so let's start reserving some money. But that is strictly all it is. It's just reserved by that board based on what they know they have coming. So next year, maybe if the roof caves in and we've got to do something big. I don't know what that might be that's not covered by insurance, but if we have anything at all that takes place that we do have to be able to cover, we may have to say, oh, man, we were saving for that fire truck. We're going to have to buy this instead. Who knows what that thing is. So anyway, I'm just trying to say that with the overview that I've had over the books in this short period of time, I don't see anything that has been appropriated in error. So the funds are still in the accounts. We do have a separate account for the grant for the building. We do have a separate account for all the subsidy funds. And most of the subsidy funds have not even been spent. They are still sitting there. There's a few thousand, $30,000 that was spent this year out of the $115 that we received. Last year we spent $0 out of that account. The previous year we spent a few thousand out of that account. But all based on the invoices that y'all turned in to be paid. So all that money is still sitting there. I've seen it with my own eyes, so I think we're good there. Any questions?
Okay, the next speaker is Ken Campbell.
Your Honor, I'm really here more as a resource. I'm the attorney for the Plantation Volunteer Fire Department EMS. If y'all have any questions about what we're doing, the corporate structure, how that's structured, I'd be glad to answer those questions.
I have one question. When the chief said up there, "We Incorporated," who is we?
We is the Plantation Volunteer Fire Department and Emergency Medical Services, Inc. It is different than the other fire departments here in the county, but it's not different than many of the fire departments across the state of Texas. Many fire departments have fire and EMS, just like Austin, Dallas, whatever. The corporate body is the Inc., as we're referring it to, Plantation Volunteer Fire Department and EMS. It's got 5 directors. We've got a director right here, right here, right here, and right here. One of our directors is not able to make it today. The other 2 members of the board of directors are the fire chief. The bylaws do not address how the fire chief becomes the fire chief. I think it's historically been sort of an election and an approval by the board, the rest of the board. The EMS chief, since he's an employee now, is just basically hired, even though he's on the board too. But the 5 main people are the at-large people elected by the citizens of the Plantation, the homeowners, the residents there. Okay? It is true, and in fact, we're working on our election right now. It's in the bylaws. We're working on our election now. One thing I will point out, and this is not to throw stones at Chief Barrett, but he's not qualified to be a fire chief. He may be a great administrator, but he has absolutely no certifications in fire or EMS in the state of Texas.
There's no requirement.
Actually, it is, because y'all sent us the standard operating procedures of the Plantation Volunteer Fire Department. This document was copied, it's 93 pages long, from the township of Windsor, Connecticut. Half the time it refers to the entity, it refers to Windsor, Connecticut. The fire chief's qualifications under their own SOPs, a minimum of 10 years experience in the fire service with 5 years minimum as a member of the Windsor Fire Department, must have served as a line officer in the department at the deputy chief level or higher.
Where did you get those from?
They came from the fire department. They told us
So they come from we wrote the SOPs and SOGs.
Excuse me.
And those are not there.
Go ahead, finish up here.
All right, let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
Because everybody in this, nobody can incorporate anything in pecan plantation without the approval of all the members of the pecan plantation homeowners association. Am I right? Or you can have little pockets of inks and all over the
But
place.
you generally cannot take a name of a name that's already taken corporately. Okay, that's why it's Pecan Station 80, I believe, that they have formed over there. I will point out that it has no assets, might be some cash in the bank. It doesn't own any fire trucks. It doesn't have any PPE. It doesn't have any of that stuff. That's all in Pecan Plantation VFD EMS Inc. And they're not set up as a fire department yet. So they don't get the benefits of governmental immunity because they're not an emergency services organization, because they're not operated by their members and tax exempt under the Texas tax code, proper provisions. So even if we wanted to switch the money over until they're set up, it can't be legally done. They would be out there with unlimited liability. They don't have insurance or anything else at this point. Normally, if you're an emergency services organization, you're like a county. You got a $100,000, $300,000 maximum. $100,000 per person, $300,000 per occurrence. Okay, we're willing to work with them to assist in this. But what this is an internal matter of Pecan Plantation, Volunteer Fire Department Inc. and EMS Incorporated. I don't know why we're in front of y'all. We're grateful that you've given us the opportunity. But with that said, right now, the board is in place. There will be elections coming in November. We are moving forward. All the accounts have been audited or are in the process of being audited. In fact, we've provided all the bank statements and all the financial information to the county auditor who has passed on those. So right now, I'm not seeing what the problem really is other than some folks want to be the sole person who determines where the checks go. That's not how it works. It's not how it works for your sheriff. It's not how it works for your county attorney. They go to the governing body with a budget. It is presented, and then the checks are written per your protocols. In fact, the checks can only be written under the bylaws, can only be signed by the president or vice president, assistant treasurer, or treasurer. So I think that's very important for the court to know.
This is an internal problem. It's unfortunate that it's happening. I see it all over the state of Texas. I am a fire chief in Travis County. I'm a commissioner for Travis County ESD 10. I'm a lieutenant at another full-time fire department. And I represent over 200 emergency services districts, cities, counties, and volunteer fire departments. In fact, I've been before some of y'all before. We were looking at doing the ESD at the Court of Bend. With that said, all I have left to say is, I'll answer any of your questions, but I want to assure you that this is being addressed within the corporate entity. And give us a chance to just move it forward and get everybody on board. Thank you.
What I was concerned about is $115,000 that the county gives to pecan plantation. That was designated to go to the fire department, and I think Mrs. Fiducci here has explained that that money has kept separate for the fire department.
Correct. All they got to do is present a budget, which we haven't got from them yet, and we're not going to have a spending plan. We're going to actually budget money, and if they need a truck, we get it. The county funds are restricted to certain things. The ARPA funds are obviously going to go to the building and the renovation of the building. But right now, we're trying to make sure that everything's being done right. All the accounts are accounted for. We're going to have an auditor look at them. Your county auditor has looked at them. So we're here to tell you we're moving forward.
Not as simple as that.
Okay, the last speaker is Tina Brown.
I just signed up in case I had questions. So this money that Pecan gets in the dues, what do the people think it's going to?
They think it's split between fire and EMS.
How is it on the ballot? Do you recall?
What, on the bylaws amendment?
No, on the ballot, when you decided to take $20 a month. Was it going to be split between the two?
The original intent.
EMS applied for a $10 increase back in when? 2011 date, something like that. They applied for a $10 increase on that, and that was for EMS. The other part was mainly going to private policy, because EMS will pay, but EMS are paying from it, they still didn't have enough money coming in.
Where's the million, what'd you say, $100,000? CD, where did it go? How long have you been treasurer?
It's still,
5 weeks.
5 weeks.
still-
So you have not gone over everything for the past 5 years?
Not everything.
Okay, so that is an exaggeration.
It's a
there.
revolving door. 10 people resigned from the board in the last year.
Yes.
So,
May I answer this?
So is there anything in the
Hold it.
We need to get back
I
on.
think Mrs. Verducci said she did it since 2023. She hasn't gone back any farther than that, but you can see where the monies
Starting
are
in
there.
2021, all of the subsidy monies are accounted for.
The money that you get, that Pecan Plantation gets from the county, that's my concern. So it goes to the fire department or the deal. Other than that, I don't know if the county has any business in the Pecan Plantation type of deal. They have a board and they put it up for the election of the members of Pecan Plantation to decide what's going to happen.
Every other fire department in this county has their own board to decide where those funds go, not an EMS board.
It's not That's unique to Pecan Plantation, which is how this whole thing started. Pecan Plantation is a homeowners association that's been, I don't know how long.
72.
But it's, anyway.
To Mr. Campbell's point, that what Pecan does with the funds from the auxiliary, from any fundraiser, from the PPOA, that is not the county's
Goes into
concern.
the operating.
Yeah, that is not the county's concern. The county's concern is the interlocal agreement and the ARPA funds, and to ensure that the accountability and the intent of those agreements is being followed. And that's why we're here. Do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, for the bulk of this, again, I don't see that we have any dog in the hunt. This is a contract within Pecan to decide how that money's done, and I think that elections speak volumes. If you don't like the way things are done, get somebody elected on the board that changes it to the principles that you want to have on here. I think that that's a great system. As far as, yeah, the county money, it's specifically for fire. I think that we've all touched on that. I think that that's where.
If I could just make one more comment, I will say that at one of our last meetings, and I guess it was when Jeff Young was at the meeting, we offered to Chief Barrett that we let him be a signature and then one of our board members be a signature. Then we had double connection to make sure that those funds were not spent in any way that was not designated for fire. If it took his signature and a board signature, we're both protected. That keeps our D&O in place, and it gives fire total control over any of that money, because I can't spend it, the board can't spend it unless the chief has signed off.
But didn't your attorney just say you can't do that? Isn't that what he just said a few seconds ago?
That's not what he said.
Can I just
It
say,
can't be somebody off the board, it can't be the chief and a fire person. Right. It has to be a board member.
and that's what I agreed to.
Yes.
What did they do? The board went to special meeting with us.
So, could I ask something? What do y'all want us to do? I don't know what this thing is.
Well, we just have to, the reason it's on here is because the two agreements that we have do not have the correct entity name on them.
We need to correct that. yes.
All of this,
Okay, so you.
We have the documents to
That's it.
show that we are the same entity, it has just changed names.
Right,
Well-
and they're trying to take it to the their new LLC, it's not ready and equipped to be a fire department.
Okay, Alan Quine, I'm gonna recognize you.
Yeah, sorry, Assistant County Attorney. You don't know who the recipient of the funds should be. There might be a leak material error, because that's the very issue that's being raised here.
Yeah.
So I think it might be appropriate to correct the document, have an amendment, correct the document so it's clarified. You know, where the funds are going, who is required to send the checks for the funds, having one board member and the fire chief. Wonderful idea, so we clear any ambiguity.
so that's, I've been working with Alan some, and we do have some recommendations, unless Jackie, anything.
So you wanna change the name on the ARPA document to go to PP?
Now, hold on. So here are the recommendations based on Article 6 of your bylaws. It does say that the BOD has the authority to create a policy that defines day-to-day operations and disbursements of funds. The board could create a policy that gives the fire chief authority over the disbursements of the county-granted funds. This would also stipulate that this supersedes Article 9, Section 2 of the bylaws. Please note that the county auditor and the fire marshal and the emergency management director have oversight over these funds. So, along with changing the name to Pecan Plantation EMS Inc., you would change or create a policy that says that these funds are directed to the fire department, which is the intent of the court. It's county funds that are intended to go to the fire department, so that would give us, me, I can't speak for everyone else, they'll have to speak. That would give me comfort to know that these funds are going to the intent of what the county intends those funds to be. And also that I guess you could change a policy anytime you want, but the fact that there has been multiple boards and people in charge over the last 9 months doesn't give me a lot of comfort as a steward of the taxpayers' money. Also amend the interlocal agreement to state that Pecan VFD division of the Pecan VFD EMS Inc. will have authority over the disbursement of the ARPA funds.
That would be a violation of our bylaws.
I couldn't hear what you said.
I'm sorry, that would be a violation of our bylaws, our very corporate documents. Now, we can amend our documents, certainly to do that,
That's what I'm saying.
but we would also, the chief's got to be supervised, just like y'all pay for the police car, the sheriff's cars, and all
Okay,
that stuff.
can I finish, please?
Yes, ma'am.
So remember that I said, please note, the county auditor, the fire marshal, and the emergency management director have oversight over these funds, as well as the 5 of us. Then amend the ARPA contract to specify clearly that the intent of the funds is for the sole benefit of the volunteer fire department, and the building will remain in the sole benefit of the volunteer fire department for a period of X could agree on number of years. So that is the intent. I mean, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but when we,
How can the county tell them what to do with their building and their land?
That's what we granted the funds for.
No, it makes any difference if you get money to it because I own the house and you give me some money. I don't have to do with it what you tell me I'm going
Well,
to do.
where's Margaret? You do based on the agreement with the federal government for the ARPA funds.
It's certainly going to the building, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But the building is owned by Pecan Plantation Inc.
Not county.
But you can, it is, okay, so oh yeah, Margaret's not here. She said she would be available by Zoom. But we have requirements under the ARPA restrictions of what that money can be used for. And when the county commissioners granted those funds to be used to build onto the footprint of the Pecan Plantation Volunteer Fire Department, if it's not used for that purpose, then that violates the agreement and our responsibilities to the federal government for what those funds are for. So those were recommendations that Al and I came up with, but there is, this is what everyone that's come to me, I've said the same thing. And both groups just get in the room and say, this is our goal. We're here to serve the public, Pecan Plantation and the county with emergency services and fire services. We have some restrictions over here, we have some restrictions over here. There's hard problems that have been solved. But keep in mind that the goal is to serve the community with your volunteer services, fire and EMS. And that's the goal. We have some restrictions based on the decisions that have been made by this court, the restrictions that have been put on the ARPA grant money. We have to ensure that those restrictions are met. That's the only reason the county's involved. Based on
Commissioner Samuelson, I agree with you 100%. The ARPA funds and the designation for them will be met. There is no question. I do just want to address one quick thing that you mentioned about having lack of confidence with the string of different people being on this board. This has been a hostile environment that has been very difficult for so many. There's been including and up to physical. And I will be honest, I was part of that. And I'm surprised firefighters didn't hurl me like a frisbee. But it was a very hot. It's been very hostile, and some people just can't take it. And frankly, I said goodbye to it too. And then I was coaxed is the right word, by several that asked me to continue because of my experience working with first responders as a commissioner in a district in Louisiana for law enforcement. So I offered this, and I'm glad I did stay. And I do appreciate everybody. In this room. I think we've seen a different path. We have the same common goal, just a different path. And frankly, I have to agree with what I'm hearing, that really I'm not sure what the commissioner's role is in deciding LLC versus Inc. This is decided, and we are ready, and still ready. So thank you.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, so y'all haven't decided, but you say the building is owned by Pecan Plantations, a decision had been made that the ARPA funds were not going to be used for the fire station.
Absolutely not. In fact, it had been approved by, as Chief Barrett would say, board number 2 approved the ARPA funds and going ahead forward with, we have the plans for the building. We were to the addition of the building. We already had a groundbreaking set. The board number 2 approved that. It was Chief Barrett in a unilateral decision, and he admitted that in the conversation with Fire Marshal Young last week, that he made that decision on his own. He never went to the board. So the ARPA funds are still intact. We have verified those funds are still there. Nothing has happened to them. They are safe and sound. It's just a question of, really part of this just comes down to signatories, and I feel like there's a lack of wanting accountability, and we're saying there has to be we have a fiduciary responsibility to PPOA, who has a fiduciary responsibility to their members. So we take this very seriously, and we're working very hard and in good faith. And it is frustrating at times. I read stuff online. Hell, yesterday I saw that every board member has unfettered access to funds in the banks. That's not true. It's not even remotely true. But you know, social media is a fun thing, right?
I thought everything was true on Facebook.
Well, this was next door, so it's really true.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, and just one point of clarification is there has been one check written out of the ARPA funds.
So you said that.
$7,000 written to the contractor for the building. I don't know who did that, I just saw it on the list that $7,000 had been spent for the building. Building plans, is that what it was? I didn't know what, it was to the contractor.
Okay, so again, back to, the only reason that it's here before the Commissioners Court is because we have two contracts that I need to be sure, I can't decide on my own, that's why it's here. To change one is to ensure that the organization that we are granting the money to is the correct organization. We feel comfortable that there's controls in place, that the terms and conditions of these two contracts are going to be met. And that's the only reason. It has nothing to do with what Pecan does with auxiliary money, with PPOA money, with all of that is none of our business.
Based on your recommendations to change the bylaws, correct?
That was,
Based on that, correct?
what do you mean based on?
You made recommendations and they said they're gonna correct it.
Well, I don't know.
Well,
if you
so then
understood
you're
clearly.
saying it doesn't matter if they do or not, you've challenged them to, this is what you are comfortable with, correct?
That would make me, as a commissioner,
Okay, that's
feel
fine.
that the controls were in place to uphold the terms of these conditions, of these contracts. Because at any point in time, you know, there's going to be a new board in November. That board may not know that this is, they may decide to change something that will then not comply with these two agreements. I don't know.
But that's what your comfort zone is, right? I just wanna make sure it's out there, so these people are gonna make that decision.
Well, the POA is, because they, to amend the bylaws, it's 2/3 of the POA, of the membership present, so it would be the members who are.
The membership.
Yeah, the membership
As
is
opposed to the volunteers and the paid staff.
But you don't have to change the bylaws to create a policy. But it already gives you the authority to create a policy that would allow you to restrict in writing. You said in verbally that those funds would be restricted and how you would suggest those signatures be. But to put that in writing so that the next board that comes or the next board after that would see that that policy's in place.
It's in the contract,
With what contract?
y'all's contract.
Well, it's not in your, it's not a policy that you have.
We would be violating a contract if we did that.
What?
We would be violating a contract if we misspent those funds from y'all.
Absolutely,
It's in writing.
But that doesn't
breaking the law.
necessarily mean that every next board member that comes into place reads the contract and does that. And
So are you going to send us your recommendations in writing so that we can review them and make sure we're getting all the words that you're saying?
well, I don't know if anyone else thinks that they need to be done. But they just,
Well, your auditor, county auditor, said point blank, we're right on course, doing it right. The fire marshal, same thing, went over for them. I mean, we're all sitting here worried about the money's gonna be spent right, when in fact, it never has been.
well, we heard.
On the monies that the county provides for us.
We heard something different.
At the present time, county has two fire vehicles assigned to Pecan. They also have the ARPA money.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna make a motion that the ARPA money be returned to the county until after the new board in November. And that is Not because, y'all got internal problems in Pecan, no argument. But the bottom line is that ARPA money, the county is responsible for that. And if it's not going to be used for what it was intended for and proposed for, then it's going to come back until the court can be shown that we are, going to use that money for where it was intended. That is my motion.
Second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I don't think
That's a big leap.
it is a pretty big leap.
There is.
I think
It's no different than tendering it to the court till they get it figured out. It's no different than.
We're not going to reallocate it, that's not the point.
What is it that you're expecting to happen?
To pull it back until the new board is assigned in November, and then they, can say to the court that they are going to use that money strictly for the fire department housing, which is what it was intended for.
chance to make that.
They said that already a $7,000 check has been written to a general contractor to draw up the plans or do whatever. That new board better see that they're fulfilling those plans for that new building is what it is. And I'm satisfied with you saying that the 115,000 is there. I'd like to see the full audit, but that funds, I feel comfortable with that, what you say that.
In fact, we've been spending about $30,000 to $40,000 a year out of our operating fund for the fire department without even drawing on the subsidy funds. So the subsidy funds are still just kind of sitting there with some money being spent out there, but very little. Like I said, 3 years ago, I think it was just a couple of thousand. Then last year was zero. This year, we've spent about 30,000, and then all the rest of those funds are still available.
Judge? I'm sure that everybody in the plantation thinks that they're paying for a superb volunteer fire department and a superb EMS. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that the EMS is going to take a bigger budget because they got paid paramedics where all the volunteer fire departments are volunteers. And that's to take nothing away from the volunteer fire departments. I have the utmost respect for any volunteer fire department. I hate that it's a dying breed, I wish that younger people were picking it up, but, I don't know what we're going to do later on down the line. But, really, we just want to make sure that Pecan is concentrating on that when the county gives you money, it's earmarked for what we intended to do, and that's for a better fire department. Because that's what all the other 8 fire departments get the money for. So we keep the money the same for all 9 fire departments.
Yeah, I think we're ready to move forward with that. We'll just talk to Chief and see how he's.
So, like Mr. Wilson explained in his motion, it's not to take the money away from it, it's going to be withheld and put in the special account here if it passes, if the motion passes. Or y'all show that.
And what is your expectation, Jack, of what will change? I just want to understand what your motion is. What are you expecting to see that's going to make you?
Well, we've already been told today that the 99 years is not going to happen. That's part of what's already been said. I want, the court to be convinced that that money is going to be properly used for what we offered it for, and that is to build a fire station, period. Not anything else.
Would a 99-year lease make you happy?
You bet.
It's too who are we going to
Let's be real. Because from what I'm getting told with multiple sources that are in this room, I was told the 99-year lease is not going to happen. Well, also, that's fine. You can check, everybody take their own position on that. But, the fire, if you're going to use, county monies for fire, then it needs to be, for fire, period.
Well, the chief got the money in July, and
He's not in on signatory.
Right. That's the problem. But the money is restricted. It's restricted to the uses that are outlined in those 2 agreements. If we do anything outside of that, I'm not sure what the exact law is on that, but I know it's not good. So,
it's not.
you know, so we are dedicated to spending the monies as are agreed to in those two agreements. And that's why we're saying let the chief be a signature with one of the board members. Then we have accountability going back and forth between the two. He isn't going to go off script, and neither are we.
But you see other boards spend money without going through that.
Well, we can't do what we're talking about with the signatures.
He just read it. Got no signatures and did it.
But I don't know when that was.
We can't fix the test.
So, I think the 99-year lease sounds like a reasonable offer too.
Why don't you amend your motion to include the 99-year lease?
He says they would like to.
What else can you do with that land? That land is for
So why did you not hold you the lease? I got a hundred people talking at once here, hold it. We got the motion to return the ARPA funds back to the county until such time as the new board is elected. We get a firm decision that the funds are going to be used for the fire department building. Second by Commissioner Eagle. We've had enough discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
I abstain since I live there and have another interest in.
Okay. The motion carries 3 to 1 nay and 1 abstention. Thank y'all all for coming.
I have another motion. I think we need to change the minimum, which is why I put this on here. The minimum is that we need to amend the two agreements that we have to have the correct Pecan, Fire, and EMS Inc. because the name that is on there is not a valid name of an entity. I mean, it's evolved, but that is not the valid name.
So you made that motion?
Yes.
So we'll second that.
What?
The motion, what is the name you want to change it to?
Pecan.
Whatever our legal name is.
Yes, their legal name, Pecan, Plantation, Fire, and EMS Inc. Volunteer Fire.
Consultation,
Well,
fire.
to give him the correct name. Give it to Christine Leftwich. Okay.
Commissioner Wilson, I would.
Consultation, fire, and EMS.
Volunteer.
Volunteer fire department.
Volunteer.
Yes, I can tell you.
Yes. You got that?
And
All right,
also,
you looking at the documents, aren't you, Alan? You gonna make sure that that's done like that?
yes, but we need to
Because I'm gonna do that, aren't you?
yes.
Okay, motion been made, you second.
I'm not finished with the motion. On my page here. Oh. And we also need to amend the interlocal agreement to state that Pecan VFD division of Pecan, however you want to say it, the Pecan part, the fire department within the EMS will have authority over the disbursements of the funds, because that's the intent of the agreement.
Can we do that with the new agreements coming up?
We could.
We're signing those after we get to the budget or whatever, let's just
Yes.
fix that.
Okay, I withdraw my my motion because we're 2 weeks to the next budget year and there's already some, it doesn't make sense to change the ARPA agreement at this point because of the motion that was just made. So, never mind, I withdraw my agreement.
Don't we still need some action on this?
Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Samuelson to change the name.
I withdrew it.
All of it?
No, I withdrew
You was the
all of it.
first part?
Yeah, because that can be over in 2 weeks, right?
Well, the ARPA agreement. Maybe whenever we're.
The ARPA agreement is kind of moot at this point until,
Okay, Brother Klein up there, your office, you've been working with this as an attorney. Should we go ahead and change the name of the entity correct right now? What is that? Or to say that we're dealing with the correct name on the entity.
Like I said before, unless there's material error, because we all know who's being referred to, but to help clarify and get rid of any ambiguity, I think might be a good idea.
Okay.
Maybe a good idea to go ahead and do it correctly.
Okay, well,
It's just a simple misidentification.
okay, back to the motion. I'll make the motion to update both the two agreements that the county has with Pecan Plantation Fire Department, EMS Inc., to present the correct legal name.
So second that.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Samuelson to correct the names to the county agreements with Pecan Plantation to the correct corporate entity name, seconded by Commissioner Eagle. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank y'all very much. Hey, at 2:42, we're still in Commissioner's Court. We just took a slight break after the Pecan Plantation deal. And so the second item to be discussed is discuss and take appropriate action relating to all matters concerning the 2024-25 budget. May adjourn into executive session as authorized by the Texas Government Code 55.074, personnel matters. Okay, so the budget. Anybody want to start off by saying something? You call this meeting,
Yes.
Ms. Samuelson?
I did. I feel like we made good progress on the September the 9th. I'm going through all the departments and going through, making some changes here and there. And again, I just want to say how blessed we are to have Ms. Mountlock here. And she's doing a great job of corralling the cats, I guess. But I see you have some speakers signed up, but really my intent today was to, well, the thing that we haven't done as a court is go through the individual salaries and make sure we're all in agreement with the matrix and the salaries and all of that. So that was my intent for today, but I see you have some speakers lined up. So before we turn into executive session, do you want to?
I want to call up the speakers out there. The first speaker is Tina Brown. God, who's Tina Brown? You know who she is? Tina Brown.
Troublemaker. Thank you. I've been looking all of this over. I just, after what the officer said at court on Tuesday, I just don't see how you can give all the elected officials a raise and give some of these people like next to nothing or even taking them backwards with the sheriff's department.
I said, I didn't know somebody went backwards.
Well, I don't want to throw out names here, but
Tell me later.
okay. I mean, it goes back, it's minus 7.14%.
Okay, you're looking at a percentage there. That position changed. You may have had somebody there with more tenure, they may have been further along the scale, and they left, and that was the salary at that time.
So this person's no longer here?
No, the name that you have there probably is here, but that may have been somebody that was here for 10 years, and then they've got a new person that came in, so they moved down the matrix. That's the only, nobody on that chart lost money.
So that's what we need to do, what you're, as a group.
It goes
is go
from,
through that.
let me see. These numbers are so little. It goes from 71.4 to 62.7.
Can you pull the matrix up?
I can.
I mean, and a whole lot of these people get 0.22, 0.77, 1 point, and y'all got 3. It's like, come on.
I don't know, I'm not sure what iteration of this thing you're looking at.
I got it last week after court. So when, Thursday probably?
I'm trying to explain the longevity thing about this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm talking at base, not total. I'm talking base to base.
I want to make sure I get to the right thing. So, you want to tell me a name? How do you want to do that?
No.
Technically public information, but I don't know how you want to handle that.
Yeah, go ahead and say the name, I mean, let's see it.
It's Peggy Kerr. She was hired in '24. She's making 61.8 this year. 61.8.
You know, in the future, I could be comfortable saying the names out loud.
Going up.
We can't?
I'll talk to salary, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay, can't use the name, huh? Although everybody knows who they are.
I'm sorry, that was the wrong person.
Okay.
I didn't have it. This person started at 24, goes from 71.4 to 62.7.
Okay, that is a change of person. That, what you have right there is the beginning or roster at some point months ago, maybe 5 or 6 months ago, and the person that was in that position left, and there's a new hire in that position. So the total change or whatever, as far as the budget is concerned, is that impact over there. That person has not made that 71.4 and now moved down to a 62.7 or whatever. It's a different person.
So instead of that sheet, let me try this.
I mean, I had a sheet last week. I mean,
Yeah, it's like.
That person is that, yes, that was the roster in January.
So you haven't updated this roster since January?
Yeah, it's pretty well current now. The percentage is not necessarily, the percentage for that position has changed. It has not changed for that person in that way.
I don't understand.
I'm doing a terrible job explaining.
Yeah.
That was budgeted, that person left, there's a person that makes less. So now it's overage in the budget.
It's like hers. She replaced my other chief deputy. She doesn't make the same amount as my prior chief deputy did because she had been here longer than her. So that's why.
Okay, here's what it is. Okay, that line in January was Kevin Andrews. I've been here 10 years. I'm making 71.4. Okay, I leave. Nanette takes that job. She's slotted into that position on that spreadsheet. But she's brand new, so she's making 62.7. So when you come down here at where the salaries were at January of this year and going into October of this year, there's a 7% difference.
It's not always the person's salary, it's the position, if that person changed positions.
So this person is brand new.
Yep.
And they stepped into a position that was making more money.
Yes.
But they're at the entry level.
But when you put this person on here, couldn't you have changed those numbers?
Oh, that was.
I could have. But let me tell you, Tina, I only spent about 12,000 hours on this. I'd really like for you to come in here and criticize me. Do you have the matrix? Let's do that. Not necessarily individual salaries.
Mr. Brown, if I may interject, in my 15 years of being here, I don't know of anyone that's ever been cut in pay.
Okay, well.
Yeah, there are no cuts in pay. There are more of those in there. There is not a single cut in pay.
Once they give it to us, they'll never reduce it. They'll increase it.
Yeah.
And depending on how hard you fight, whatever.
So is this is the new person taking over an old person?
Yes.
Spot?
Position. Right.
Okay, and that's when you see things like 18 or 23%, that's somebody that got promoted. So into a new position.
Well, I understand that.
Okay.
Well, this is the fact that.
What's her time running on the field? Right.
She's halfway past her 5 minutes.
Was it past the 5 minutes?
Oh, no.
I was kidding.
Yeah.
Yes, turn there off.
Yeah, I can assure you, nobody went down in salary on that thing. Any of those that happened were just a reduction in the overall budget.
Can you explain the steps?
Yes, I will do that as soon as we get that full budget.
Well, let me tell you, we got some people that need to speak. Your time's up. We gotta go through it here. Somebody asked him a question. Next is Gary Roberts.
Commissioners, Judge, thank you for your time. Last week I talked to you a little bit about pay. I'm not going to waste your time about the pay scale today because of the sheet in the back you can look at. I compared it to Granbury PD. I know that doesn't make everybody happy, but that's who we compete with our neighbors. And when y'all talk about pay in a minute, you're going to see that where we top out, Granbury hasn't even started yet. So our deputies top out or lower than what Granbury starts at. Across our pay scale, you're going to see 10, 20, 30, 40,000. 50, even up to $70,000 pay difference in what us and our partners at GPD are making. And I'll tell you that we have 4 to 5 times the system we're taking care of, and we run almost twice as many calls. 8,000 more calls last year than GPD did, and we had a handful more deputies. But I want to talk about forgery and fraud, because those 2 things in my division I asked for. I asked for a fraud investigator, I asked for a narcotics investigator. Fraud and forgery killing us. Took over 320 fraud and forgery calls for service last year. I got 1 guy that does that. $2.3 million in fraud and forgery losses in the last 2 years in Bibb County. I'm sorry I was precinct 2 people left because that's who it affected the most. Commissioners, y'all are telling me you can't afford it, but I think it's the people out in our senior community that can't afford not to have the help. We've had multiple fentanyl overdose cases in our county. Just last month, we took 12 kilos of illegal narcotics off the streets of Bibb County. We did that with our DEA partners. That's where I'm trying to get our resources to go to. When I partner with our DEA, when I get a narcotics investigator, I partner with DEA, they give me 20 more guys that can come help anytime I need them. I know America is probably losing the war on drugs. Southern border's wide open, no secret. But our guys go to work every day because they know every bag of dope that we take off the road, one bag of dope that some kid doesn't get a hold of, one less overdose. If we save one life, it's worth it. Y'all tell me it's not worth it to y'all, y'all tell me y'all can't afford it. Your decisions that you're making, they're absolutely handicapping our ability to increase public safety, and it's handicapping our ability to do our job. So I'll apologize ahead of time to the next parent of an overdose. I know you guys haven't talked to those people, but it's a tragic thing. I'll apologize for you guys, and I'm not saying that y'all are responsible for the next one, but your failure to act, it sure makes you complicit. I said it last week, I'll say it again. I know that didn't make everybody happy, but what are you doing by not approving the sheriff's budget the way you put it in? It's defunding the police. You can call it underfunding, but it's straight up defunding the police. We don't have the resources, we don't have the people, we don't have the money to do our job. And last week, I think I said to people when I said, I think you don't care. And I said that because 2 of our guys almost lost their lives for y'all just 2 months ago. Got in a gunfight, tragic incident. They almost didn't get to go home that day. And if y'all call them on the phone, and you come by shake their hand, anybody know their name. That's why I say don't care. And I won't say who it is, but not too long ago, one of you guys was asked to come do a ride-along. See the challenges we face firsthand, get in the front seat of the patrol car with all our guys. And this is your response. It's funny. I never wanted anything to do with law enforcement. I didn't want to know the seedy underbelly. I want to live in my little bubble and go to church and sit with my people. That's your Hood County Commissioner saying that. One on the list. Well, our deputies don't have the luxury of burying their heads in the sand. And Justin Price and Daniel Martin are doing fine. But I don't know what to tell their wives when they got to come back to work for 30 grand less than what they can make across the street at GPD. I don't know what to tell them. When I stood up here and I talk about cutting taxes, I hope with our citizens here, I hope they hear that they're talking about cutting services, because that's exactly what it is. And I know nobody wants to increase their taxes. You're the first one that said I don't like paying for things. But if my taxes go up $4 or $5 a month, whatever it ends up being, I think I can afford it to protect our youth, to protect our seniors, and support our law enforcement and public safety. That's all I got for you guys.
Okay, thanks. Kenneth Copeland.
Would you prefer up there here, Judge? What, any choice?
Well, you got a good carrying voice.
Oh, you won't have any trouble hearing me. Okay. My name is Kenneth Copeland. I'm a resident of the Bentwater subdivision, and also, I'm on the board of directors for Bentwater, and I can assure you, we will not be putting in any EMS or fire stations in the Bentwater subdivision. And I'm going back and tell my board, we're doing great, guys. We are doing great, because after I heard everything that's going on with the time. But I graduated in criminal justice. I spent 40 years with the federal government. Much of that time was with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. I also regulated the truck and bus industry. So I've had a lot of experience dealing with law enforcement. At NHTSA, most of that time I was overseeing grant funds going to the states and for the cities, for them to fund cities for law enforcement activities. Most of the time overtime programs are the campaigns you hear on TV, ticket, don't drink and drive. So I've got a lot of background with dealing with law enforcement and what I need. And I have to admit, I want to apologize for the lieutenant. I'm sorry that he has to get up and plead and beg for support for the sheriff's office. I think the citizens of Hood County should be here doing that. And I'm doing it on the behalf of them. And I'm going to do my best to educate them, because I believe many of them are like I was before I sat here last commissioners meeting and listened, have no clue with the trials and tribulations the sheriff's office is having to deal with. I can tell you, for dealing with hundreds of departments through what was our 5-state region, finding law enforcement these days is difficult. People don't want to do the job. All right? If you get a good officer, you want to be able to retain him. And if you cannot retain them, if next door or down the road 20 miles is a department that's willing to pay them $10,000, $20,000 more to do the same job. I, a citizen of Hood County, I believe that your primary job is to provide for the safety and security of our citizens. And you can't do that if we do not have a properly funded and supported sheriff's department. Their equipment is wearing out. Their officers are overworked. They're working overtime that they're probably never going to get reimbursed for. Candles being burned at both sides of the wick, and that wick's going to run out. And the one that's going to suffer is each one of us. We are probably very fortunate that we have never had to call on a sheriff's deputy in an emergency situation. We're trapped in a car. We've got a burglar outside our house. Heaven forbid we're in a fight for our life. We're going to be calling who? 911. And if we live in the county, it's going to be a sheriff's office deputy that reports. And if he's all the way on the other county, and I've talked to deputies that tell me, I am running code 3 from one end of this county to the other to try to get our calls, because they don't have the enforcement that they need to put on the streets. So I'm going to stand here today and just ask you, as we go into this budget season, please, please, please try to give our officers the funding that they need to protect each one of our lives in this community, because that's what it comes down to. I'm disappointed. I wish all of the con people were still here, because I think they need to know what's happening with the budget related to law enforcement. I wish this had been flipped so they could have heard, because most of them are like me, ignorant to the situation. I will tell you, and I promise the sheriff's office, I'm going to be working with the other property owners associations and their presidents, and I'm going to make sure they understand they need to become involved and start supporting law enforcement and make sure that we're getting the support that we need. Thank you very much.
Good. Speaker, nobody knows who this is, but his name is Richard Haddix. New to the community here.
Yeah, it's really hard to sit up here and make a speech after these guys, but I just want to assure you I won't use the whole 5 minutes. And my portion here that I'm asking about is very small compared to their portion of the budget. Our court coordinators are the core of our group. They run the courthouses, they take good care of us. You don't know how quality of people you got, they're treasurers. Everyone sitting in the county court, my court, Judge Buckley's court, they're treasurers to the county. We appreciate what they do, and I'm telling you, it runs because of them. I'm assuming a lot here. I haven't spent 12,000 hours on the budget, but I could have. The district judge has the power to set the salaries. He sets them for his coordinator, he sets them for the audit lead, and he also, that has a ripple effect. I'm here to be sure that you don't ignore or overlook the rest of the coordinators in the county that are running the other courts and keep them in the same consideration that Judge Buckley has the authority over. I don't know exactly what y'all are thinking. I haven't seen the latest proposal out. We do want to address the needs of our people. And if you don't keep the salaries in a consistent level between these people that are doing the same job, there'll be a lot of disharmony and a lot of unhappiness that be bestowed upon us. These people that are running the courts for us, these coordinators, they're easily poachable. And these law firms will hire them away from us, and they're very valuable people to us. We'd ask you to consider them that way as you decide. That's all the courts. That's the county court, JP courts, certainly my court, certainly Judge Buckley's court when making decisions. Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you very much. Yeah. Randy Ellis, another newcomer.
I think you can hear me. I want to piggyback on what he said about the treasure some of our employees are. I was able to speak to some of y'all, but not all of you. And I'll touch on that in the different meetings that we had. Today I wanted to focus on, if we're not placing them on that matrix based off the years they've been here or based off workload, how are you deciding where they're placed on that matrix? Because it is all over the place. Some is tenure, some is argued that it's because of the workload that they have. Well, which is it, and how do you decide which employee goes where? That's one question I have. And the other is, I asked the three of y'all that I could meet with if my clerk could have my raise, the 3% of my salary. You said you'd look into it. I want to know if you looked into it and if she can have it, if you can't find it for her. Those are my questions. And I think you can answer me because you're able to answer Tina when she was speaking.
If I want to answer.
Well, at this point, no, because we've already said that all elected officials get a 3% increase. So I don't think that we'd be able to.
I just wanted an answer.
Yeah.
That's the reason why. Then okay.
Yeah.
That's set in stone? It can't be changed?
Yeah, that's already been decided. Yeah.
Yeah, I asked about that.
Okay, well, the other question then is, how's it decided who's placed where, who gets 3%, who gets 6%, if they're going to be placed based on tenure, or if they're going to be based on workload, or if they're going to be titled clerk, or office manager, or office assistant?
That's what I said too.
That is, by and large, I went into this thing and didn't change very many titles. The only titles that
How
I
did I
did
get my
change,
clerk on the list changed?
I guess that's the case you'd have to make here. And I think that what that would mean is all four.
I can't even get an audience with all four of them.
Well, no, I'm saying all four constables.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I guess would have to be the same situation there, unless there would be. Well, I guess it would be three of those, because I think that's probably what we're talking about.
Yeah, one is substantially paid substantially more than the others.
As an office manager.
And she deserves every penny, and I am in no way arguing for her to go down. I'm not doing that. I'm here speaking on behalf of my department. But it's hard because there's four of us.
Right.
So it's hard to do that without, involving them in the conversation. But I think it would be fair if they all had the same title.
Well,
I don't know.
I think the way that this evolved was the additional workload, the tax sales.
I talked to you about that. That's not how it evolved. But again, I'm not arguing against her. So it's hard for me to do that without it sounding like I'm arguing against that clerk. But that is not why she received the pay increase. She received the pay increase, if my memory serves me correct, is because she was clerking for two different constables.
That was
And
part
she's not
of it,
doing
yes.
that anymore.
That
But
was
she's-
part of it.
But she is
And-
absolutely where she deserves to be pay-wise.
Right.
I
understand what
I
you're
hate to
saying.
even be talking about another elected official's office.
Well, whenever that split, that was a decision that was made. We sat and looked at it and said, okay, this was somebody that was doing the work for 2 constables, they can no longer do that.
Gotcha.
What do we do now?
Right.
And the consensus was an office manager, because there's still the tax stuff that's going on, and, you know, multiple things going on in that office, a little bit broader.
Right. And we spoke, several of us, I was able to speak to several people about this, but I kind of just wanted to make it public and wanted the answer to those, how that decision has come to decide who gets placed where and who gets paid what, if it's not on tenure and it's not on workload.
No, I think that workload does have an impact on that.
On some. Is that fair to say? Some we place it on workload, some in seniority. And that's confusing to me.
Our workload is basically the same, then yes, tenure, but you say that that person in that constable's office has additional workload. So the other constables, you look at the 3 office managers, is there any other differentiation that you can say?
Absolutely. One of the constable's clerks, who I think she's like number 3. They're not paid the same, none of them are. I think she's number 3 from the bottom. She has the highest workload, hands down.
And that is
more than the other one. It's just the way it is, and it fluctuates. It wasn't always like that. In our job, it fluctuates. Last week we had the slowest. Last month I had the slowest month that I've ever had. This month we're having the busiest month. So you know what I mean? It flexes and it fluctuates every month. That's that. Staying how it is. We're not going to try
We're
to.
fixed to go into executive sessions.
Would you consider taking a closer look at that?
If we can.
We're not voted on any budget.
It's hard. I'm doing this because it's hard because this is my 4th budget. KJ, my predecessor, allowed me to do her last one. I came in to work on it. The last 3, I have not been able to see all of you because, for whatever reason, it's decided that one of you doesn't want to see with me, won't return emails or phone calls. That's not getting a fair shake. Last year, we were assigned commissioners. This is who you're going to speak to. They spoke to every constable but me. I brought it up in court. They said, oh, don't worry about it. There's still 2 weeks. Still never happened. That's why I'm bringing this stuff up. It doesn't seem fair. It's decided that this person deserves this money, this person deserves that, based on who we like and who we don't like, is what it feels like.
That's all the speakers that we have today. So,
okay. Well, let me take a stab at this, because this is where my 12,000 hours was spent. So our step matrix in the past has been, X number of grades, X number of steps, and it ended up that what we did every year is just moved everybody's salaries. So what you had was somebody that's been here 5 years making the same amount of money as somebody that's been here 1 year. I heard this over and over and said, okay, what can we do about this? We have longevity in place where after 3 years you get $300 check in December. For every year that you're here, it adds another $100. We went over and sat down with Erath County's auditor, and Erath County's pay is every position in that county starts at the same salary. Okay, if every comparable position. So if you're a Okay, if you're a patrol deputy pay is X. If you're a patrol deputy that's been there 1 year, you make this much. And it's based on that year, you get that much. If you go to 2 years, every year, there's an increase, and it varies. It may be $500 this year, maybe $200 that year, whatever it is. At the end of 23 years, you make $10,000 more than the person that starts. And that's it. You cap out right there.
If you stayed in that position.
Yes. If you were in that position for 23 years, you make $10,000 more than starting pay, and that's it. Next year, whatever the starting pay is, you make $10,000 more, and that's it. So I kind of said, hey, that's a pretty simple situation. How can we play off of that? Because frankly, somebody that's been here for a year has asked the questions. They've learned something. That's a pretty valuable jump in their ability and their efficiency after the first year. So let's go ahead and give them a significant raise at that point. Do it again at the end of their second year, which is starting the third year, and then longevity takes over. So what I did, and it's not across the board. This number has some huge fluctuations in it. Some people have been here 6 years that were still step 1. Well, they needed to be step 3, and then added the years of service on there. So they got a huge percentage. I'm not sure, some of them are 12, 15% or whatever. Other folks were at the top of the thing and hadn't been here very long. This was the same thing that we dealt with in the sheriff's office a few years ago, where you had some deputies that had been here for 10 years making this payment. A new guy comes in and he was here. Until we got the matrix in place, dependent on your level of service, on where you were on that, then your longevity, and longevity may be the wrong word. That seems to be causing some consternation. Your tenure in that position affects how much your salary is. So, administrative assistant, the first year, the person hired in, and we base this off of calendar years. All the matrices work off calendar years. So, an administrative assistant that was hired in 2024 makes $36,750. Okay, that's the starting salary. If they were hired in 2023, anytime, January 1st of 2023 to December 31st of 2023, they make $37,750. Anybody hired in 22 makes $38,750. Okay, now, there were people that didn't fit. People that did not make it onto this chart. And that's what the asterisks are, okay? This is a salary that doesn't fit on the matrix, but nobody can get promoted to that, okay? Over time, if this moves 3%, this may move 2.5%, to where eventually this gets consumed into the matrix and makes everybody on step 3 that's been here more than 3 years, okay? The second part of this, and this is where some of the differentiation comes into play, after this third year, you make 4 years or $400 for every year you're past that. So if you've been here 13 years, let's just do that because it starts on the third year. Okay. So if you've been here 13 years, your pay is going to be $38,750 plus $4,000. So your pay after 13 years is $42,750. Okay? The longevity portion of that doesn't change. It still comes out as a payment in December, just like it is right now. So you get 25% of that in December, and the rest of it goes into your check.
Why do you do that? Why don't you just give it to them all in December 1st, which is where they've all been given from this?
Because it's a huge number. You're talking about a $10,000 payment in December. What if they put it in January?
Why wait? Why don't they give them the money up front?
They're getting more money on every paycheck. Why make them wait till December?
No, the fact that I guess they've always done it that way, that's what the employees.
Well, that's
Okay, well, let's change that word. It's no longer, it's not longevity, it's,
Incentive system.
yeah, it's an incentive system. That's, yeah, I keep using the word longevity because that just kind of.
You get your incentive pay in December too. That's
Okay.
a Christmas bonus, isn't it? I gave Christmas bonuses.
But why make, when an employee can get 2/3 of that on every paycheck, why make them wait till December?
Can the employee not
Because it's a
decide?
bonus.
No,
Not.
Right, can the employee decide? I think, well.
But it's a bonus. It's a bonus, it's not payroll.
Yeah.
It's
not a bonus.
It is payroll, because $300 of that, like I said, $300 of it is your payroll. That is going on your check, distributed out over 26 checks a year.
Last year, how did it work?
It was just $100 a longevity period,
Now it's 400.
per year.
Per year. Okay.
Up to
but it was
20
a
years.
bonus.
Up to 20
It wasn't
years.
in the
Yes.
regular paycheck. It was a bonus. It was
Yes.
like a Christmas bonus.
And now it's not.
So,
Now it's
so you're
not.
not gonna, so longevity is gonna be part of their hourly pay?
It's their tenure, their time in this position.
Is there part of their base pay?
Their longevity.
Well, it's separate from their base pay.
Because it's calculated based on years of service.
Okay, but your raise could be done that way too. I mean,
It is done that way.
but
Yeah.
no, you're adding something separate to it. Longevity is separate. It's like a bonus based on how long you've been there.
All right.
Not,
So, yeah, I don't know.
but it's not part of your raise. Your raise is.
No, it is your
if you
raise.
get a-
We called it your raise, it's your raise. I don't know any other way of looking at it. If you're
It's a
here for,
bonus.
if you're here for 10 years, your raise is that $400 every year, and 100 of that comes to you in December. Now, the chart moves also, so this is not locked in place. Next year, this may move up a little bit, and the whole thing moves, and then in addition to the $400 per year. And the $400 doesn't have to be set in stone either. That can be changed, that can be adjusted in some way. So now this is these positions on these are the matrix positions, okay? That, and on that, the way that I did this, again, all of this stuff is up for debate. Anybody can, we change anything, vote on anything, whatever we want to do. On this, longevity doesn't cap out. Instead of stopping at 20 years, this one, it just keeps going for as long as somebody's here. So I think Gloria Bird, who's been here 26, 28 years or something like that, she's got a pretty significant longevity.
So will you want to give someone a 3% raise? Do you not do it off their base salary?
That's a decision you make every time.
Well, it should be a,
How did
it should be a
ERAF County do
decision
it?
everybody does.
ERAF County has a base pay, and this is exactly where I got this from. They have a base pay, every year is an increase, a quarter of that increase goes to you on longevity in December.
Well, I had my office check with all the 4 counties around us, ERAF County. I asked what did you give your employees this year as far as raise? And it came back 3.5% with a minimum of $2,000.
Okay.
And that was ERAF County. Parker County was 4% COLA across the board for all employees. Somerville was a 5% across the board for all employees and elected officials. And Johnson County was a 3.4% COLA and a 2.1 market adjustment to catch up with some years that were below the COLAs in the past years. So all of it, if you got it, did you see the matrix of what they're doing to all of their employees?
ERAF County?
Yeah.
They changed one number, yeah. They changed this number.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see what they're doing. I'd like to see.
And that's where I got
I want to ask the other counties, because they're all gone up, it goes from 3.5% to 5.5% for all the employees up here. And I see some of these employees look like you're getting less money, and some people getting less than 2% increase, and then some people get a 14% or 16% increase, and
That's why I was telling Tina, if it says that on here, because I asked about those two, that 14, 16, those are people who were promoted.
I got it. They were maybe a clerk, and now they moved up to
Yeah.
an administrative assistant.
Or they were promoted during the year.
And they're-
Not with this budget, but they were promoted during the year, so it looks different. So that's why we need to go through all of them, which hopefully we'll still have time to do.
And I targeted, again, I didn't go in, whenever I first said this, I was sitting at about 2.5%, somewhere in that ballpark, and said, okay, I'm not sure where we're gonna be, 2.5%, it's easier to go up than it is to go down. And I took this and tried to give everybody at least some raise, okay, by, typically, well, that's gonna bring up another thing. I tried to get everybody real close to 3%. In doing that, some of them came up to 8%. Some of them came up 12% because they've been behind on how long they've been here for so long. Again, it was the same thing that we did with the sheriff's office whenever we made the matrix. You can't go down. You can't take somebody that's been here, 10 years and say, okay, well, you gotta go down here so that everything fits better. So it's the rising tide floats all boats, brought it up to about 3%. Some of them were not 3%. Some of them didn't quite get there. Others of them are out here in this area, in the asterisks, and they didn't get quite 3%. Again, trying to get this thing caught up. And it's all, I did the best I could to get this sucker to, somewhere in the ballpark. If we want to sit and tweak on things, we can sure do that.
Commissioner Andrews, how does it help me tell my guys that they stay here 23 years, they're going to get 10 grand? They can go next door and get a $10,000 sign-on bonus tomorrow. But if they stay here 23 years.
I don't think that's what he said.
I'm asking because we're going to have a retention problem.
Oh, that's what he said, is that they could leave and get a $10,000 sign.
Day one, they got to stay here 23 years to get to 10,000.
No,
That's Erath County, that's your home county, that's not here.
No, that was what he's talking about.
I'm talking about Erath County with the 23 years. How many of these counties max out your salary after 9 years?
Yeah, that's, what he was talking about, his example was, if you stayed in the exact same, if you stayed as an administrative assistant.
Sure about longevity, I
But,
understand.
people get promoted into the lieutenant and other things, so their salary will automatically go up. It's definitely not gonna be take, whatever you use, 23 years to make $10,000 increase. I didn't wanna.
That's not what he said. They would make $10,000 more than the starting pay.
Right, if they stayed in that same job class the entire time, which very few people, some people do, but not, and in law enforcement, there's a lot of movement into the next rank,
You still only have so many lieutenants and one captain. So how do you move up?
Look, none of this is stagnant, none of it is stopped. You want to run the sheriff matrix?
Yeah, I didn't want to, somebody asked me, and it might have been Tina, asked me about how do our benefits compare with other counties, so I did go and look it up, and I looked at Hood, Johnson, Parker, Palo Pinto, Erath, Somerville, Wise, Ellis, Tarrant, Denton, and Comanche. We are the only county that you vest in your retirement after 5 years. The only county out of all of those. We are the only county that gets 2.5% put into your retirement on dollar. If you put in $1, the county puts in $2.50. So we also have years of service, retired any age, 20 years. Some of the other counties also have that, but a lot have 30 years. So our retirement package is the best out of all of these counties surrounding us. Plus now, as you guys know, the insurance that we just adopted is zero deductible, zero copay, so that's gonna save employees a lot of money for that.
Has it been discussed about lowering to 7%? So when you're starting out so low on a base pay that you can get paid more at a fast food restaurant? Instead of taking 7% right off the bat, lower it to where so much is not taken out immediately, or not taken out of part-time.
We talked about that last time, is we can't do a gradual.
It
has to be all across. So if
That's
there
what I'm
was,
saying, it's okay.
if there was, are you saying that instead of the rate being 7%, to decrease it to like 4 or 5%?
Yes.
And then the county would match 2.5% of 4 or 5, so you're also reducing what the county.
That's okay. But when you're having a part-time person that can only work so many hours and 7% is taken out immediately, and they tell them, I'm so sorry, but you only get this amount, you really don't get this amount.
Part-time employees get benefits?
No.
Oh, okay.
They get retirement.
Yeah, they
They do, and it's a requirement by TCERS. that
Okay, yeah, but not a lot of them stay for that amount of time because they don't make enough. But working from a private world, because I was in a private world for many years, we got to, starting off was 3%. At 5 years,
That same question.
we got to choose.
Because people have different needs, and.
I know, we got a lot of single parents that don't like taking 7% right off the bat.
I mean, that's something, what is it, in January, where we tell TCRS, or December?
No, our plan is due December 15th, but it does have to be completed in the budget.
No,
To be able to.
But if it goes down.
I mean, I'm just throwing that, I mean, that would help a little bit without, if you can't give a big enough raise, take, 7% down a little bit.
If it went down, though, if it was I don't know, we'd have to I'm sure there's other people that wanted to stay at 7 and 2.5.
But I mean, not.
But if it's, you don't have to change it 2.5 and just change it down to 5 or 6 or something.
I think the point is, as great as the benefits are, if they can't afford to feed their families, they're not gonna stick around anymore.
Thank you.
So.
To even recognize the benefits in the first place. And benefits don't really attract younger employees anyway. They don't care less about insurance and retirement and all that stuff because they're not thinking that far ahead.
I'm going to disagree with you on insurance.
You find me a younger person that's more interested in insurance than they are what they bring home each month, and
Well, it's a balance. It's a balance. If your salary's this, but your insurance is this, then that eats away at your salary, so.
So the younger generations aren't seeing the benefit of insurance. They see the benefit of the paycheck that they're earning when they come and get paid.
Even having a young kid though, I don't use our benefits a whole lot.
A lot of them stay on their parents until they're 26.
I'm carrying 2 of them, and they're grown-ass adults.
People don't see the benefits in their retirement, they see the sheet I just handed y'all. The giant salary differences in a police agency, when you're talking about $30,000 to $70,000 difference from us and GPD, that's what people see. They don't see the 7.5, that's awesome, you guys did a great job on retirement, I promise you, I'm happy with our retirement, you're not gonna hear me complain about it one bit. But like they're saying, when they go somewhere else and make up $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, how do I tell them to stay here? What do I tell them? I'm running out of stuff to tell them. I talked 7 out of 8 coming back a couple years ago. I'm going to tell them now.
Well, I did do some looking at that. I looked at all the, unless you want to, I don't know if you're to do something if I can talk.
Go ahead.
I did look back because, based on some of the comments that you made, and just looking at the law enforcement salary related in the sheriff admin, from 21 to 25, the salaries have gone up 54%. From 22 to 25, 40%. From 23 to 25, 32%. Dispatch, again, salary related, not other, the other things in the budget, just salary related budget items. 21 to 25, 61%. 22 to 25, 53%. And 23 to 25, 25%. Jail, 21 to 25, 51%. 22 to 25, 42%. 23 to 25, 22%. The other thing I looked at was capital and ARPA. So in 2023 to 24, the current budget year, between ARPA and capital was $1.4 million just to the sheriff's department. Capital budget in 22 to 23, between capital and ARPA was another $1.1 million. Capital budget from 21 to 22 was $326,000. I have a question, but I might not have had the most current one because that seemed awfully low compared to the other two. So using those figures for the 3 years is almost $3 million in capital and ARPA funds that have gone to the sheriff's department. So I do take a little bit of exception saying that it's defunding law enforcement when
Look at where we started from and where we are comparable to everybody else.
50% of nothing is still nothing. That's what I'm telling you.
I'm just saying that
50% of nothing is still zero. I mean, you're not, if you're that far behind, 50% doesn't cut it, that's a problem.
well, I think what I'm saying is this court, and this was before me, except for last year, you know, the court, these guys in the prior court looked to me like they had been addressing law enforcement over the last 3 to 4 years.
Since I've been sitting here, the sheriff's overall budget has gone up 156%. Go talk to some other departments around here. Some of these folks are livid that they've been ignored. And I know, I have sat there, we have sat there for hours talking across the table looking at this thing, trying to get this thing right. I'm absolutely lit up that you want to throw down that we're defunding the police here with a 156% increase. It's enough. It'll never be enough, Gary. It'll never be enough.
You're right.
You guys do
I'll
a
keep
job
fighting.
that nobody, I mean, we can't pay you enough to put your life on the line.
Well, show us what works then.
I'm trying, Gary, 156%. 156% increase in 4 years and 4 budget cycles. That's a lot. We're,
Why does the guy who does my job at GPD make 70 grand more than me?
well, I don't think he does, and he sure hadn't been doing it for 3 years. You top out the pay scale in 3 years, which that was a little.
I'm an exception, that's why I keep using myself.
I think that I was a little deceived on that thing, because remember whenever we sat here and talked about these, and you said, no, well, they could just be steps. That's not necessarily years. And we said, yeah, okay, that makes sense. We give it a little time, and then we never really defined when those steps came about. But next year, whenever the budget came in, all of a sudden it's years. And I didn't fight. I didn't go back on it. I said, okay, well, I kind of feel like, that wasn't the intention whenever we began this thing.
No, I disagree. That was absolutely the intention from day one we sat down and talked about this.
It was just like the year thing that I've got paperwork from you that shows that. And then this year, you changed the thing on us. I don't feel that you've been real genuine with us. Gary, we're only allowed by law to go up 3% on the revenue that we brought in. The sheriff's department has gained 156%. A lieutenant, a 20-year lieutenant at a state trooper, 20-year lieutenant is $109,000. I can't keep up with Granbury. We don't have the resources that Granbury does. And I don't want this to be a fight. I don't want this to be a public fight. I stood there and looked you in the eye and said, I'm on your side. I want to help you guys. I want to be able to do something with this.
Then show us.
I've been showing you, Gary, 156%. We still have another county to take care of, our whole rest of the county to take care of.
I'm not trying to take anything away from them.
But how do we do it? 156%, Gary.
That's how far behind
We're
we are.
pouring into this thing. We've added 25%.
And I greatly appreciate everything you've done over the years, but when you guys do this, everybody else does this, and so we're staying behind. But
We're the 3rd highest starting pay. We're only behind Tarrant and Parker. We're higher than Johnson. We're higher than Palo Pinto, Erath, Somerville.
then the others pay overtime like you're comparing it to, and they pay overtime, we don't, so there's a lot of reasons that, well, I appreciate everything you've done.
Unfortunately,
we have to be more, I'm gonna lose more people again.
Starting pay is just one metric. Starting pay, y'all are doing a great job with that. We just didn't finish the fight. We gotta carry it on.
But I understand, Gary, on this, next year, you're making 91.4. Okay, we're paying more for, cert pay. We're paying more than these other departments. And again, I don't want to have
cost of living raise
this.
from anybody lieutenant above last year. You didn't give anyone a cost of living raise.
Gary, you went up, every single person
That
on
raise
this
that
right
was good.
here moved up a step.
But not a cost of living.
Step is not
what
a
we're talking about.
raise. It's a promotion. What am I, and it wasn't supposed to be 3 years. Like I said, you get to the top of this thing in 3 years. Show me another agency where
You didn't want to go out on the years, right? You wanted to stop at the 3 because you said that number was too high. You didn't want to go into triple digits. We understood that. But that's the problem, is there's so much that's not being followed up on, or that's not being actually continuous, like Gary's bringing up. Continuous progress. That's the problem. I mean, here I am pushing almost 15 years. When we talk about percentages, the percentages look so great, and given so many else falls, for so many years, underpaid. And you had good employees that stayed. That's it.
I'm not arguing.
And now we're to that point where, like somebody brought up earlier, and you're talking about this new generation. This county is about to be in for us. You're not going to have this younger generation sticking around. They're going to go. I told y'all this 2 years ago. I'm here telling you again. They're going to go. And it's sad. And I love this county. I don't even live here. And this is what I consider my home. I spend more time in Hood County than I do Weatherford, Texas. And I've seen this place do great, great things. But it's sad to see that this is the direction we're going. And not just, I'm not talking sheriff's office salaries, you know, as a whole with our clerks, our positions for those guys. You can go to Home Depot, HEB, and these guys are offering retirement systems, benefits, and salaries that you're going to lose some great people to Walmart, to HEB, to your grocery stores here.
But when we have an opening, we're getting a bunch of applications.
That's because this guy right here and that guy right there. They keep it together with baling wire and duct tape.
I was actually talking about clerks, but, but no, and I don't disagree with that. I don't want to stand here and look like I'm opposed to the sheriff's office in any way.
I don't think it's the sheriff's office. I think it's as a whole, and I think the sheriff's office is just a portion of it. When we're up here talking about the salaries as peace officers, that's what we know, right? We know that. There's not a person in this room that can speak better than myself or Lieutenant Roberts when it comes to comparing to agencies around. We've been places. We have friends all over this state, right? I'm not expecting us to be a Frisco PD. Right? You can't be that. I get it. There's revenue that comes in. But when I've seen over the almost 15 years of being here, where our people are going, why they leave, I'll tell you right now. It's not because of the man right there. I'm not saying it because he's sitting there. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. I will tell you, like you brought up, 8 people brought him back. We're right there again because they saw some progress and then we stopped.
But nothing stopped. It's continuing to move. I don't, how much can we give, John?
I mean, when all we hear is, you know, we've got to cut this, got to cut that, and the rumors that go around. I'm not even saying that they're true, right? But there is some truth in rumor.
Not necessarily.
But there is truth in rumor, right? As far as if you hear something, it's like, okay, let's go back and find out where this is. And when you find out that, hey, this is accurate, this is true, this is what the direction is going, they start seeing the writing on the wall. And
what are some of these? Because
I don't know. We just talked about in general. Like I said, this county is what I see grow more than anything. I sleep in a different county than where I actually function and what actually I see going on. We here have seen a lot of growth, and it's going to continue to grow. And the biggest part is as an administrator, you can't effectively serve the citizens of the county in the best way that they deserve without having those resources of people. Whether we're talking deputies, clerks, whoever, because you know you brought up earlier about having applications, right? Okay, but we just lost a person that was here for 5, 10 years. They had all of this madness, if you will, perfectly operational, and then you have to bring in somebody else because they did leave. And it's not the random, it happens here and it happens there. That's going to be understandable, but when it's one after another, there's clearly an issue, and it's trying to get that resolved when you're being told by your personnel. We had I'm not going to throw out his name. We had a deputy started a couple of weeks ago. He did a week of scenario-based training, came out to the streets in 2 days. He did not blatantly come out because of, for one, in my opinion, of the type of person that he is. But he also, I called down to HR and said, would you please beg him, find out why? Because he told me, hey, this and that, but he came from an agency where they did a lot of traffic. He ran 2 domestics in 9 months. He came here and ran 6 before lunchtime on his first day, right? He left because he saw law enforcement, he saw the amount of work that was being done, and that can be pulled into other entities in the county, and they're going to see how much work that they're doing, and it's like, why am I going to continue to do that? I can go here, I can go there for a lot less work, a lot less stress, a lot less danger, and make what I was doing there. Yeah, we saw good things over here. We were going to come over there to grow with y'all and see that y'all offer some cool things. To these younger kids, a SWAT team, a dive team, all the things that the sheriff takes care of and has in the community here, that is enticing for a little bit. And then he gets over here and sees it, and he's like, honestly, I think he was scared. He was scared to do the job. And that's harder and harder and harder to find these days, people that are actually going to show up every day. And that's the last person or type of person that you want in our career field to be saying, when they get that call, am I going or am I not? It's difficult. Very, very difficult.
And I have nothing but the utmost respect for every single person that straps on that gun and package and goes and does this every day. Yeah, and it was me. I'm the one that said that comment about I'd rather live in my my little bubble instead of seeing the seedy underbelly of things. I'll run into the burning building all day because I kind of know and expect what to happen there. But yeah, you guys do a job I don't want to do. I've never made any bones about that. So yeah, I mean that's throw me right under the bus with that. But I don't want to see things like that. I think most of us don't. Most of this community doesn't. But everything is growing, but it has to grow in an organic way also. Okay? An unexpected consequence that I never really considered whenever we put on more deputies, all of a sudden we got more prisoners. Guess what? That's how that works, Who would have thought that? That also burdens the DA's office. It burdens the district court's office. Everything creates more pressure here.
Yeah, we're just trying to keep up with.
I understand that.
So I'm sorry if it overloads the jail.
Well, I understand that.
The attorney's office and the DA's office, but we're just
No, we don't want these people on the street. We understand. Yes, absolutely.
There were people on the street that shouldn't have been before.
Yeah, so we're just trying to get them off. And then the deal you brought up about this year you're doing away with the longevity pay, cut all that so you can put it into to make the raises based off that?
No. Y'all still hasn't changed at all. That matrix right there has some increases, but the structure, the way everything's paid, all that stuff hasn't changed at all.
Well, I learned longevity was like, that part's not up there, so I just asked them.
Yeah, no, they're actually basically 3 ways that people get paid in the county. Okay, the matrix, the clerical matrix, which is just, that's the one that's based on the $400 a year. That one is the $400 a year, and that includes road ops and all the jobs that kind of fit on the matrix. There's an off matrix, which is department heads, some of these one-off positions that it really doesn't make any sense to create a matrix for because there's only one person in that position. And then there's the sheriff's office matrix, and that's the sheriff's office and the off matrix stuff. The longevity is still like it's always been. nothing's changed there. We set that thing up, well, communications and jailers did get a big refurb on the matrix there on that too. But, yeah, as far as patrol didn't change. That's,
So 2 years ago, when this started, I was a step 5 investigator.
Yep.
Is that my new raise, or do I go to 7 because it's been 2 years?
When did you go, when did you? Yes, you get a step increase.
Okay.
I think. Yep.
The problem is, where are we gonna get some more deputies?
So, and that's the thing is, right, is they're looking at it and the words that they're saying is, hey, the amount of work that I'm doing for this amount of money. All right, that's what they're gonna come down to at the end of the day and compare that to. You can go over, you know, if we're talking ERAD, I don't care what agency you're talking about, they're all gonna look at it and say, hey, am I being compensated for the amount of work I do? So to take that burden, right, you either, one, have to pay them more money, or two, you get them the resources that they need, the more people to do that. And I understand it goes up with courts and things in a way, but we're not, you know, we are a proactive agency, but the majority of our calls they're coming in, and our arrests are coming in from calls of service, right? Hey, little Jimmy just beat on me, please come help, right? We're going over there. So those are the things where, when we look at it, is if deputy, their quality of work, if it is clear this call that we just made an arrest on to go to this next one and wait on the next one, the next one, the next one, the quality of work you're getting out of that employee, it could be better, right? We're no perfect agency. I'll be the first to admit, we'll look at reports sometimes and it's like, hey, we could have done such a better job on this. However, when you look at the totality of it and you look at it and say, hey, there's 4 calls, 4 domestics going on at once, and this one had to clear this scene to go over here by themselves to take care of this and leave this one here, right? They could have stayed and done a more elaborate type of investigation, and that only helps out the courts even more. The better we are at our jobs, the better the courts are going to be, because they're going to take that information and pretty much put it in front of a person and say, hey, look, at the end of the day, this person did a amazing job on this. You're dead to rights, you know, as far as the offense that was here, all this information's here. It helps out with investigations. When deputies are able to take the time, investigators don't have to follow up on that work. That's a big part of it. So when we look at needs, Lieutenant Roberts was asking for CID this year for a fraud investigator and for task force operator. Those are 2 of our big things right now. And when I say now, it's not going to change. Our fraud, again, across the United States or world, it's so easy these days. I can send you an app or a QR code on your phone. You scan it, and everything that's in your phone just dumped into my phone. And now if you had any socials, any kids' birthdays, anything you have in there, I have it now on my phone, right? And that's not as an officer. I'm talking to the scammer, okay? So it's so easy these days to be scamming people, and a lot of those crimes we can be following up on and actually putting people in jail for that. And you know, for here in Hood County, we have a large elderly community, and they are I personally had them attempt to scam me. Being in the job that I am, I know kind of been some things to look for. I'm not saying that it's completely foolproof that I'm going to not get scammed, but when you listen to them and the things that they're saying, it's becoming more and more easy for them to scam these people, and then there's no repercussions. That's why they're out there doing it, because they think nobody's going to have the time to follow up on this. So for those 2 positions that he asked for, very important. For the couple of positions that we've asked for patrol, we started in the right direction of building. We know it can't be throwing out numbers of 14 people all at once, but if we stop, that's what happened years ago. We never continued to grow. And this is before any of you guys, way before you, right? We never continued to grow. And right now, the agency is under manpower for the call volume that we have for the communities.
How many deputies do you normally have out on the road for our county at a time?
So, like per shift or minimum staffing or what?
Per shift.
So if you have everyone here, you'll have 8 on every shift.
That's terrifying for this large county.
Okay, most days you have 4 to 5 because people are off on comp time.
I know
like they were talking about with Commissioner Andrews with court. They're constantly in court doing things, flexing off times that they have, so that's a big thing, is all logistics, and if you're having to burn all that time, they're not here. The last thing as an administrator, I don't want to burn out my people, but you do want them here at work to be pulling, helping pull the wagon along.
And I'm just stuffing, right now, sending people home to, for holiday pay, so I'll be short-staffed for a while. Not that we don't like getting it. But yes, but that's, I was wondering, because living here is interesting to know how many, and that's not a lot at all.
And here's the problem. I'll tell you this honestly, I'll look you dead in the eye. I've been losing sleep over this. I absolutely have. I lay awake at night and worry about this. Because what happens to that mother of three, that single woman? She probably doesn't own her home. She's not getting homestead protection. And if you think that somebody renting a place isn't paying taxes, you're dead wrong. That landlord is passing those taxes on to that person renting that. They're struggling to make their grocery bill. They're struggling to keep their phones turned on, to pay the insurance, to keep the lights on for their kids. There is a heavy, heavy consequence to raising taxes on people.
Some of those same single mothers are also your employees.
Well, and I understand that. And there are a lot of people out there that aren't getting a raise this year. It happens. I'm talking to several people. I haven't had a raise in 3 years. And it's tough whenever you get inside a government situation. It really is. I'm doing the best I can. I look around. I look at what state troopers pay. I look at what, the surrounding counties pay. I know that there are places in Fort Worth or in the Metroplex that we're never going to be able to keep up with. I know that. I think we all know that.
Right next door. Right.
Well, but see, so much of the funding that they get is sales tax. If you look up and down the street over here, you got Home Depot and Walmart and others, they get a crap ton of money through sales tax that we don't get. The only way that we can increase revenue is to put it on the back of a taxpayer to pay more property taxes.
And you know this, at the end of the day though, whether they're in the city or in the county, they don't care as long as they're calling 911 when they need it, saying, hey, somebody's there. That's the scary part. Having the resources, the manpower. This man has never allowed me or anyone else, as long as I work for him, to say that call can hold. Most of the time, if there's a call on the board that's been there 10 minutes, guess who's getting a phone call? I am, saying, why aren't we taking care of that? And it may just be somebody's calling for a phone call for us to call them back and let them know, right? But he wants it answered right then. Take care of our people, right? That's what we're here for. That's what we're going to do. You talk about a lot of places, we'll get there when we get there. There's days that at some agencies, you come in at the beginning of shift and you leave at the end of shift, and all the calls that were there at the beginning still haven't been answered. It's nothing abnormal for calls to hold. A burglary, if somebody broke into your house, the first thing you're going to want is an officer there at your house, right? To take a report and see what we can start doing to try tracking down this person. Other places, it may be, hey, we'll get you in 24 hours, 48 hours. We'll call you back on it. Nobody wants that. But that's what some people outside of our jurisdiction have to deal with. I don't want that to ever become this place. Because it doesn't matter who is the department head, whether you're talking a police chief or a sheriff, if they get into that type of situation, we don't want this, but this is just the way it unfolds, if you will. So the county's just growing at a rate.
And speaking for myself up here, I certainly haven't stopped. I haven't said, okay, we're where we are, let's stop. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying we have to let some things catch up. It can't all just be done overnight. We can't get there in one fell swoop. It took us a long time to get here. It's going to take us a long time to get out of this. We can't fix this next year. We can't fix this year. I'll probably get shot for saying this, but if you scroll down to the bottom of the sheriff's salary is going up 3.9%. I tried to keep everything at 3. No, that's not.
Yeah.
I tried to keep everything at 3, But with the matrix and with the balance in the jail and the communications and everything, the overall budget for salaries only with Sheriff's Department went up 3.9%. We're trying.
I understand that side.
This is tough. These are
It's not
hard
growing as
decisions.
a size of an agency where we're at right now, like I said.
And
It's
we
not
have-
like we're asking for 14 every year. It's, hey, we understand the burden that puts on it. Continue to do 2 for whatever it may be that is reasonable. Because 1 year of not growing, we get further behind. And
There was six last year were funded in the budget, plus the 2 from SB 22, so that's 8. And until that guy just resigned, you were fully staffed, correct?
Correct.
So,
Can I ask one
and
small
there's,
favor?
you know, just not to belabor this, but $1.4 million in capital to the sheriff's office in just this budget year. There was a lot of equipment, there were a lot of vests, there were a lot of things that went into the sheriff's department for your safety, because we appreciate what you do. And we know that you're putting your life on the line every day.
I don't want this at all. Go ahead.
One small favor. I failed to ask this question 2 years ago. As much as I love the sheriff, I don't want to donate my one deputy across the street. So whatever is considered for that, could you maybe keep my one deputy consistent with what it is across the street? That's why we had an increase with him last year, because he was about 10,600 less than the same position across the street. So, just if we could keep my office consistent, I would appreciate it.
That was and I don't want at all for anybody in the sheriff's department to think that I'm adversarial to the client, to think that I've given up on you guys or, done what we're going to do and it's over. That's not the case. It never has been the case. I have been, I felt like we've given and given and given, and we've done all that we can. And, I guess that's not entirely true. I guess we could go out here and go up to the voter-approved tax rate and just raise everybody's taxes and roll it in. But
you don't have to go up that much. But I don't think the citizens would mind an increase in their taxes either. We've gone down in property taxes every year on the property tax rate. Now, the values have gone up and new properties have come in, but we can't rely upon that. That's my difference in philosophy. It's not a one-to-one deal. I don't think that new growth should pay for all the new expenses. And we've got some commissioners that think that it should.
That's me.
And I don't think that's fair. And I don't think that that's fair, because we got other departments that's gonna poach our deputies. They know what a good job they have. You have a good reputation. And they like to poach deputies from Hood County. And that's the same thing we had 2 years ago when we had that crisis up here, and we had a courtroom full of people up here that said, we want the increase in deputies and pay some increased salaries so that we can keep them. And that's what happened. And I think that's what's going to happen again. I think that Kenneth Copeland, I think that's what he said he's going to be doing, is letting the people know, let it put up to the people. But every year we've reduced the tax rates since I've been on this court. Every year it's gone down. You look at it. Now you may have paid more taxes because the value of your property has gone up, but still that's not enough to cover the new expenses. It doesn't equate one-to-one. I disagree with Commissioner Andrews over that. And that's just going to be our philosophy. I just think that, and that's with our employees too. I think we've got real good employees. I think everybody wants to stay here. But, and I agree with y'all, these new people that are coming in, I'll be talking to them about retirement, or benefits. I'm going to say, how much money are you putting in my bank account every month? That's the big deal. And if you look at,
say, Hood County, for the 50-plus years I've been here, has always had this kind of problem. They've always been behind the pay curve. It's always been a training ground for other departments. It's been that way from the late 70s, 80s, when I was on the department, it was the same thing. Somebody come in, they get out of the academy, they spend 6 months to a year, and they go somewhere else. And that's exactly where we're at right now. That's what's going to happen.
That's in a lot of departments, though. That is a lot of the
It's not
departments.
just in the sheriff's department, I understand that, but it's going to be in a lot of them.
I've lost 3 to other counties already. I've got 2 of my girls being poached by dealerships right now, trying to steal them to have them go work for them. One of them's been with me for 8 years. I begged her not to go. She's having a hard time every day.
She's going to executive session now.
Go ahead.
Hey, Commissioner Andrews, I want to say, you were the person at the table to talk to us about all this. Absolutely you were. And we had great talks and we spent a lot of time together. I think some of the message that's getting across right now is the guys know that if you wanted to make this a priority and fix this, I believe the auditor can probably find the money and we can tell you what the tax rate needs to be to support it all. The thing I think you're saying is that you want to keep taxes low versus support public safety, and that's the message that the guys are giving, and that's what I'm hearing, and that's why I come here and I talk to you all the way I talk to you all.
But here's the deal. In this, we're in a pickle this year. And I finally sat down and had a good long conversation with Jeff Law about exactly how we got here this year. And it was the homestead exemption. Because what happened is last year we set the rate, and then we decided on this homestead exemption, and we were actually up there talking about this not taking effect until this coming January, not last. Okay? When that happened, we lost the value. And that made the bottom line over here $1.3 million short, somewhere in that ballpark, okay? So it came down $1.3 million for the homestead exemption last year. So that's going to be a tough situation to overcome. And here's what I've seen in the past is if we did leave the revenue at around the no new revenue rate, the new construction moving in, because we're gaining $1 billion a year in value. That new construction coming in has given money into the revenues to make some of this growth. This is how we've operated and done the growth that we've done. This year, we're in a spot. This year is a tough situation. And it was the order of things that would have, had it been this January, we could have accounted for it in the value, and the no new revenue rate would have been different. But it didn't work out that way, and now we've got to come up with an extra $1.3 million in this revenue. And
Well,
that's
the
all.
homeowners are getting the benefit of that, the property tax owners are getting the benefit of it, so they can afford to pay a little bit more. It's not that much, it's passed around a little bit. We need to figure that out when we get with you. Say about that, it's not that much, just that no new revenue rate, that's what we're getting every year. That's why we're in this.
Now,
Right now. That's my side. I want to pay the employee, I want to pay what we can afford, not just keep reducing the tax rate. That's what y'all interested in, is keep on reducing the tax rate. Even though they get the 10% homestead exemption. New growth isn't going to pay for all of the new expenses. If all real good people don't come here, we're getting our bad element in here too, just like we're 90 minutes from Dallas. I lived in Dallas. I know what it's like in Dallas. So glad I'm out of it. Don't want to go back either.
Well, we still need to do the executive
Can
session.
I throw something in? I'd like to go up about a 30,000-foot view to help you guys with where we're at. I've checked all the surrounding sheriff's departments since you were in court last week with Gary, and Parker County is above us in starting, and I just used starting deputy pay as a template or a benchmark because I didn't know where else to start, and you brought it up anyway. And Parker County is above us, and I've talked to their county commissioner, one of their county commissioners, who's one of my mentors, and they're bringing their salary up some more. I'm getting their current salary,
Tarrant County is, of all the surrounding counties, Tarrant County's paying the most. Parker County's second. We're now at third. We're third between Tarrant first, Parker second, Hood County's third, and then you got Erath, Somerville, Palo Pinto, Johnson County's even under us, and they're bigger population. But their starting pay is lower than ours. Now, is it all apples to apples? I haven't had time to check all that. You're shaking, you haven't looked at anything, so you wouldn't know. And so, here's the deal. I've looked at a TCO. The last TCO salary study is dated November 2022. I've looked at TCO. We're in region number 4. Region number 4 for TCO. And that's 16 counties, including Tarrant County, Dallas County, and some of the counties that are paying higher wages, and it includes all the police departments. Here's one of our problems, especially if you compared us the other day to Hood County, to Granbury PD and to Weatherford PD. You use those two comparisons. A PD, a municipality, gets most of their revenue from sales tax, which could come from anywhere. Anybody coming through, or most people who live there, of course. But you got people, your sales tax is, everybody pays that. Everybody does, every time you purchase something. Most of our revenue for a county, for a sheriff's department, comes from directly taxing people who own property. And so there's a different revenue stream. And so it's not really a fair comparison to do apples to apples. Now, I heard you say $156,000, which blew me out. I'm sitting there going, what? In Granbury? So I had Granbury send me over their study, which I'll give you credit for it. It does have a high end at 156 for a lieutenant. But there's nobody over there getting paid that.
He just left into the chief deputy's position that he was.
The bottom line is this. I went and got Beverly Hills, California. I got their salaries that they're paying. And they're about at that one, somewhere between 140, 130 to 150. Beverly Hills. So I don't think it's fair for us. It's fair to us to cherry pick a number when that's not the average. Now I've asked, I haven't got it yet from the city, because I'll be the first to stand up here and say I was wrong. But I've asked the city to send me who did the study and where they got their numbers. Because to me, and I'm just a citizen here, but $156,000 for a local salary for a police lieutenant, I think it was. I tried to use your example. It just sounds high. You know what a district judge salary is? $140,000.
Here in Hood County, where?
The district judge everywhere, and then they get a stipend on top of that. They get another 18. So a district judge is making $158,000, or at least that was his last year's salary. So I'm just trying to. I'm not law enforcement, and so I admit that, and we do appreciate what y'all do. But what I'm trying to find for me to make a decision is what should it be. Now I've got this study that you did. You were one of the authors. Jonathan Berry, both of them, Jonathan Berry and Gary Roberts, less than 2 years old, and you got a middle, low, and high plan on salaries, and we're at the high plan.
We could only go up with our numbers so high that we were told by the commissioner.
Okay, let me finish, and you can respond. I guess what I'm trying to say is, since I've been on this court, we have strived to get you guys what you need within the limits we're working within. And here's our situation. We got y'all wanting more and more, which I understand that, and we got the taxpayers crying because they don't want to have to pay so much taxes. The school district, for instance, this year, they've gone up on the average $340 is going to be on
Next year, for the average home, you're gonna pay another $340 in property tax. To get where y'all need us to get, you may be looking at another $150 on top of that. And so that's the dilemma that we're in, because we got people that are hurting out there that are paying taxes. So I think I wish you wouldn't come at us like we're intentionally defunding the police, and that's some pretty strong rhetoric. When we have, and I've worked with Kevin a lot on this over the years, I thought we've been working pretty hard to try to get you guys up. And if you look at where we've gone the last 3 to 4 years, we've come up a great amount.
52%.
Do you disagree with that? Have we gone up quite a bit in the last 3 or 4 years?
I have seen a lot of changes since I've been.
So, and SD 22 comes in, you get some manpower through the state trying to help out, because the state came up with this, the legislature came up with SD 22, but you know what? That's still our money. Every nickel the government has belonged to us at one point, and they just redistributed it. So, I guess my frustration is that we want to, have y'all got a big turnover lately, last year?
It's coming.
Huh?
It's coming.
It's coming, but not right now. We got you up, and the turnover's leveled off, hasn't it?
Yep.
It's constant pace. Hang with us. They're working on it, right? It's constant that. And when you're going to do, as far as looking into what you said, where here's a big thing when it comes to the comparing apples to apples, oranges to oranges, all that. The county any county around here, I can't think of another in the state that has the unique law enforcement dealings that we have, right? Tarrant County, you talk about them, right? You pull the agencies that are in Tarrant County, law enforcement, like PDs, okay, they take out their chunk of that population. The county is only going to respond to a very small portion in Tarrant County because there's not really much incorporated county left. Your bigger counties like Dallas County. Sheriff's office is there because there's not a lot of county left. They're serving civil processes through all the courts and things they have. They're a completely different animal. I've had people that's come to work for us that's worked there, and I know people that work there, and it's a different type of law enforcement. We are so much like a police department, and I know the funding is different as far as how that's paid for, but I will tell you, as far as the types of calls and what we actually deal with as a sheriff's office is night and day difference. It's going to be the same for Parker County, your surrounding counties. You take the total county population and you subtract out those police departments, it's going to be substantially taken off for those police departments. We don't have that. It's us and Granbury Police Department. You have Toller that part-time here and there. Same with Black Panther. There's a marshal that's here and there, but our guys, those two agencies, they're not taking calls by themselves even when they are there. So we're having to go to it. So it is a unique. You are correct as far as what you're saying. All I ask is when you are looking at those, understand the logistics side that we can see, and it's nothing against you or any other member. It's y'all don't know that information until you ask somebody, because when you're just going and comparing a number that's on a sheet to a number on a sheet somewhere else, that's why I brought up earlier, you pay them or you give them the resources and help, and we have done that with Senate bill money, but I'm talking individual, it's a lot easier to swallow it all down. There's not as much on the plate, right? So that's a big portion of what you bring up to with the county.
Well, see, so last year, didn't we increase, how many deputies were increased last year?
6.
6?
6
And
plus
with
the
the SD 22, were there 2 with that?
That's 8 total.
So 8. Because I heard another thing I heard the other day was that comp time's still crazy. And so, but yet we've added 8, and comp time's still crazy?
Well, it depends on who you ask is crazy. I personally don't believe our comp time is crazy. The agencies that pay overtime and allow the employee to bank comp time, their numbers are even higher than ours. And we're doing nothing but flex off their time. And then you look at the logistic purposes of a court. You brought up a valid point earlier, how our office affects the courts. you're gonna have those people in court, right? So you do increase it, but the way that I have seen over the last 2 years of the product that's coming out of the sheriff's office, whether it's a first-line deputy taking a report, has only gotten better. They are, again, if you may have, and I'll just use domestic, for example, 45 minutes, you better be there, clear that up and on to the next one, and somebody's taking one to jail. The type of investigation that went into that, pretty shabby. But if you have the time to actually put into that call, you're going to most likely result in an arrest. You're able to, even if somebody left, it might be one of those things where the suspect fled before we got there. And when I say fled, went over the ditch on the other side of the road, and deputies shine a light over there because there's all these calls, and they talk with the victim, make sure that they're safe at the moment, but they're right there. But now, your guys are able to, if you're increasing the numbers, spend a little bit of time looking for that person instead of just having to clear it and then hope that they don't come back there and do something else. So when you talk about the added, I have seen some better investigations come out of those types of situations, but it's still 45 minutes isn't enough time, right? It should be a lot more. So
Commissioner English, I appreciate the research you did, and that means a lot that you're willing to do that on your time. I just caution you not to only pay attention to the starting pay. I know you mentioned something about that, because that's not we don't lose people that go get the starting pay somewhere else. We lose people that lateral into a program somewhere that do make that $80,000 and $90,000 all day long. I think what we can argue back and forth all day long for our stance and some of the court is, at the end of the day, you guys have the ability to pass a tax rate to provide the kind of public safety the sheriff has asked for. And so choosing not to do that sends the wrong message to the guys, and it's hard for me to go back and tell them why they should stay here. That's a clear summation I can make it. You have the ability to do something about it, so anything less than that, it's seen as that we don't have your support. And I understand the 156% increase and stuff. I think that's hard for some people to digest, because that does include positions, and that does include cars and different things. It's not just in
That's no
salary.
capital.
So
The 156 wasn't capital. That was only department budget, so.
Right, it was what I'm saying, but it includes more than just salaries in that number. So I didn't want people to think that we got a 156% salary increase in the
No,
last
that
couple
was-
of years. That's not the case.
That was the numbers I gave, this was salaries only, salary and related, like when you raise the salary, there's other
No, I understand. You're not explaining anything that I don't understand.
Yeah, 54%, and sheriff admin between 21 and 25.
Completely understand. I'm not confused about the numbers. I understand where they come from.
61% in dispatch between 21 and 25. 51% in the jail between 21 and 25. Again, $3 million in capital. So there's no defunding going on.
Well, if you choose to not fund the sheriff's budget like you requested it, I would disagree.
I'm sorry, can we go back to one thing he said? Did you say the school raised the tax rate? So now we're on average paying $300 more? Is that what your statement was?
That's what $339. That's on the average, on the median home value of $334,000.
So you said the school district raised the rate?
No,
Or did the home values go up, which causes?
It was a combination of both,
So the school did raise the rate?
from what I understand.
Okay, that's what I was curious about, I'm sorry. And
Are we ready to go into executive session?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, we got it, because Congressman Williams is coming here at 5.
Oh, what time? Okay. All right. This will conclude. Thank you, everybody. We're going now at 4:21.
We are back on the record at our convening back into Commissioners Court at 5:23, and you were in executive session, no action was taken. So we are adjourned till in the morning at 9 o'clock, Central Jury Room. Be there or be square.